Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, aka White Boy D Boys, aka another racially ambiguous groiper, and I'm here to tell you that Jesus loves you and Christ is King. Unfortunately, alongside that, there are many other terrible things. And good to be back in studio with you guys one more time. Once again, Mr. Moss, what is up? YouTube enjoyer, what is up? Smelly Balls is in chat for the first time, maybe in like months. I've not seen him off the rip right there at the beginning. Good to see everybody. Good to be back in studio again. A lot of stuff happening today. Actually, I know Nick still. Nick keeps saying that there is no news. It seems pretty lively, at least from where I'm viewing it from. But again, you know, a lot to cover here. A lot of the smaller stuff, I pay attention to it all, and we'll be getting into it. You guys probably saw the title. You know, REDNECKS, rally against REDNECKS. Where is this coming from? What is going on? What does this even mean? And that is because there was a supposed rally that was meant to happen, that was an anti-white rally in Frisco, Texas, that actually didn't really even happen. And what it turned out was there was actually a counter protest. And so we're going to be taking a deep dive into everything that revolves around that. Some of the footage that was there, a lot of people from Rift TV were there covering it. Elijah Schaefer was there. You also had Ricky Rudd, or Nicky Rudd, I think is his name. Forgive me if I don't know it correctly. I apologize. We also have what was covered last night. Later on the kick stream, we did a little bit of this, but Sneeko has kind of gone full anti-Nick, and he's been getting clapped all morning. No joke about it. And it looks like Paul Towns had some bit of information. I think it was coming from Paul Towns, that supposedly that Sneeko's actually not even really even from New York. But that's not even kind of the real gist of it. The real gist is that Sneeko basically went all in against Nick. No, I'm calling him out for saying like Nick's not even a good friend, saying things to the effect of that he had to search his home, he had to search his couch afterwards, basically kind of hinting or getting a subtle nod to this idea, this concept that Nick is a federal agent. He also said something to the effect of that he made Nick's career. And so this is actually kind of went full blown from friends going back and forth to this is actually getting pretty nasty. And so we'll be paying attention to a little bit of that, although ultimately I don't really care that much. I think that once Nick kind of fully addresses Sneeko, I think maybe in a bit more of a brutal means, I think it will ultimately put an end to it. There was some top of the hour news actually that came out around 5:30 or so, and this does relate to the House passing the Iran Wars Powers Resolution. Ultimately on paper, I'm sure everybody sees, wow, that's awesome, that's great. Let me be the first to tell you that it's actually ultimately amounts to nothing, and I will explain here in a little bit. Wiggers versus Hicks. Yes, well, you guys know what side I'm on. It's funny because I came from, you know, I came from a lot of white trash, you know, and that's where you kind of see both of it, right? You know, areas from around me where I grew up at, you're either one or the other. You either are white trash or you are a Wigger. You pick one. So you got to pick. It's like the college teams. You know, when I was, you know, a couple years old, I got in front of the table. And they put a New Era fitted cap on one side, and on the other side they put a spool of copper wire. And whichever one you pick, as a child, as a young white person, as a young white man, is what your future gets decided for you. And I made the choice. I picked the New Era fitted, and all of a sudden I was no longer able to wear my pants at my waist. I was actually no longer able to speak English in the white American vernacular. I lost the ability. I was able to get it back, much to the help of Nick Fuentes and many others. But yeah, no, we joke around here. There's a good bit to get into with this, and with a lot of coverage again from the Rift TV. We'll take a look at it, and also, funnily enough, it actually was kind of shocking to see nobody show up for this rally that was supposedly headed by some guy named Muhammad, of course, some Indian. And there was some oddness in it too as well, because it was meant to be a pro-Indian, anti-white rally, but the counter rally turned into a pro-white, anti-Islam rally. So there were some comments from Elijah Schaefer as well as some of the other people from Rift TV talking about just how messy things got, and also just how people cannot differentiate between the two of them, and how unfortunate some of that actually is. So beyond there, a good bit of stuff as well between the confirmation of the Trump call that came out today as well. Trump basically confirmed with, I believe, they call it Pod Force One, which is I'm assuming a podcast or show that is done from the New York Post. They have the similar kind of background and branding, if you will. Ultimately, it doesn't really mean much, but it is this push that he is saying, like, this did happen. And it's funny because most people in the direct aftermath, many people reacted either it's planted story and it didn't happen, or even if it did, it probably was not the way it was described. So Sneako's taking L's. We also will take a little bit of a look at this Israeli memorandum of understanding as it pertains to the kind of partnership, or the what I would consider the evolution of what the U.S.-Israeli relationship is going to be. We have a letter from Benjamin Netanyahu that was published by Marjorie Taylor Greene, is who I saw it from, but many other sources, where in the letter itself, you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying this was his plan and thanking people for putting this forward, putting it into effort. And so we'll be taking a look at that as well, too, as well as what it's also going to entail. Less so about the combination of the U.S. and the Israeli military, but more so in the lens of this is perhaps the plan, this is the adaptation, the evolution of what the America and Israeli relationship looks like. We've been talking about this, as many people have been pointing, and even people including Randy Fine, as many of these pro-Israel pundits and commentators and politicians have spoken word to mouth about this concept that there would be okay if the United States didn't give Israel as much financial aid, or was not giving or privy to giving as much aid, or we're beginning to dial that back. However, I think that what this presents is this is actually just going to be the new channel. This is just going to be simply the new form of which this is going to be occurring. We also had Hassan being exposed as a sex addict. Not sure if that's really anything too insane, to be honest with you. I said this last night on Kick while we were streaming and covering it. I find it to be a bit of a reach. Not to say that I find it to be upstanding and moral. However, is anyone really shocked that Hassan Piker, of all people, doesn't have the most moral character when it comes to the way he engages in his sex life, or he gets nudes from people in his fan base? Like I mean, the thing is, it's like it's probably happening to all these other streamers, right? It's probably not just Hassan. So to me, it was just like, okay, it's cool that people are going after Hassan. Just for me, it's like there's not much bite to it. And you guys know me, like I don't like Hassan at all whatsoever. So to see it in that kind of sense, it just kind of felt like, there really was nothing else we could kind of pen against him. But I guess, when everyone's coming at you, everyone's going to be taking their shots. But what's up, JR? What's up, Big Dan? Nice to see you guys in here, Native Friend as well. Uncle House says Patriot Front infiltrated and doxxed by SPLC. I did see there was more coming out about the Charlottesville. I believe I saw for just a second there was a bit of a news piece on Charlottesville, specifically about how the SPLC had essentially funded to the tune of $300,000, something to the effect of $300,000 to transport people to the Charlottesville rally. Ultimately, I didn't look too much into it. And yes, I did actually, indeed, when the news broke of Hassan asking for nudes, it had occurred to me I'd never asked my community for them. And so that's what I immediately did. I shut down the stream. I went into the Discord, I tagged everyone, and I said, please DM your nudes here at 5. No, I did not do that. It was tempting to do that because I've been left wanting of the nudes from Smelly Balls as well as Uncle House. But because you know, I was inspired a little bit by a song. No, obviously not. I couldn't even bring myself to do it, even if it was a female. It's so cringe. It's so, it feels like that's so Gen Z. That was always like younger than me. I even kind of missed the whole Snapchat era as well too, like all of that stuff. And not to say like I wasn't privy to those kinds of activities, but I can't even imagine being in that position to you know to send a message to somebody who was in there. Like to me I find it to be, I don't know, maybe I'm old, maybe it's because I'm a dad, maybe it's because I'm married, maybe it's because I'm out of the loop, maybe it's because I'm getting gray hairs in my beard. I literally am. I am. Let me admit this to you guys right now. I did literally have one singular white hair in my beard, and I punched a hole in my wall. And I immediately messaged Beardson and I said, you know, I need some help. You have to please show me, because there's no way that I am getting gray in my facial hair before you are. And he left me on red. So no, I'm just messing. But I did actually have a white hair in my beard, and that was rather unfortunate. It did not make me feel great by any means. We also we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that they are taking God of War from us. They put a Jewess in front of, or in charge of, something with the God of War series, but there is a Jewess involved. Of course, there always is. She found her way. And it looks like the new God of War is going to be taking the direction of many of these other previous franchises. I think of something like The Last of Us, where all of a sudden the protagonist is no longer the protagonist, and it looks like you'll be playing as a female. Lovely. Actually, I get up in the morning just excited. I am, no, that's too far. I get up in the morning and I just cannot wait to play my video games, and I just cannot wait to select the female character. I skip past all of the male characters. I'm like, who would want to play as a male? When I play video games, I want to play as a female. No, and so this is actually kind of a bit of a long-standing back and forth, where you know, some guys say, like, you know, well, if I'm going to be playing and staring at the behind of a female, like these third-person shooters like Fortnite, it's like I'd rather be looking at a female's behind. It's like that I guess I could understand. But some of the stuff beyond there, it's like, if I'm playing as a story, right, and I'm trying to get into the cinematics. Imagine playing Red Dead Redemption, but I'm like I'm a lonely wife whose husband was killed by some rustlers. Like that's so gay. I don't want to play. Like, sure, it's inspiring, and yeah, females can do that. I don't want to play as that. I want to be the villain. You know, I want to be the guy who you know who strung up the husband, right? Like, I want to play as the guy who's robbing from the village, right? I want to play as the guy. But again, that's a side point. We'll take a look at that as well too. And there is some stuff as well about just the general hard segue, by the way. But there are some stuff about the just general way that the Trump administration is kind of postulating itself, what it's talking about, what it's covering. And it's just kind of disgusting. It's grody. Not that I'm particularly perturbed by it by any means, but I do think this is actually, it goes right lockstep in what Nick has been talking about the way that the Trump administration, when they talk about what they like to bloviate about, what they like to position and promote, is always just like cheap. It's nonsensical. It's like, that's not even, it's not riveting. It's not galvanizing. It's all like, look at me, look at us, look at MAGA, you know, big, golden, I bought this, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, and I can't be bothered with it, to be honest with you. And that came in the form today of two things. The first is the fact that there's, for whatever reason, we'll watch the video, but Trump was bragging about how big the pool is at the Lincoln, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which, okay, he was comparing it to the sizes of the Eiffel Tower, I think, and the New York State Building, and a few other things as well. But in addition to that, there was a recent White House event, and I think there probably will be more given the fact of what they're talking about it now. But it was called like some kind of like claw structure when they had like the UFC event that was built. I think that's what they're calling it. And Trump is now saying potentially that they may keep it up for longer than expected. Maybe it's not going to be a temporary addition to the White House. And so we'll take a look at that. That's just a opening start of what we have in front of us today. Many other stories as well inside of that. Also, W to Nick for rage baiting about Euphoria. I kept my mouth shut for as long as I could. W, I'm right there with Pine Sap on that. W, Euphoria is degenerate. That is Jewish propaganda. Do not be watching that trash. I'm right there with Pine Sap on that, dude. It's like as soon as it got the clip, it was like, all right, we're good, dude. Woo! It's like, all right, dude. I can now speak openly about this, right? No longer have to bite my tongue. But that's going to be a good gist of a start, and let's get started.
Cut straight through offensive That's the view.
So the first thing I want to cover is going to be the top of the hour, which is going to be what we got. Again, this is from 5:30 from Rerum Novarum, and that is the fact that Congress has passed an Iran Wars Power Resolution to limit President Trump's war capabilities in Iran. The vote was 218 to 205. Republican Reps Thomas Massey, Brian Fitzpatrick, Tom Barrett, and Warren Davidson crossing party lines to support the resolution. The only problem here, however, is the fact that it's just kind of not really anything. And so I think most people, when they read this, they think, okay, wow, Congress, the House is passing this. They're going to send it over to the Senate, and the Senate can vote for it. And wow, we're going to get some positive. This is going to mean if they pass this, right, the war ends. Wrong, actually. No, that's not what's going to happen with this. So, and the reason being is because of what kind of resolution it is. And so it's a concurrent resolution. And because it's a concurrent resolution, and there's a few other reasons, but it has no enforceable mechanic to it. There's no enforcement arm to it. And much like previous concurrent resolutions passed in this manner, much like President Trump did in his first term, as well as many other presidents, they will simply invoke Article 2 as the authority of the commander-in-chief, and more than likely it'll be rendered null. So ultimately all this really is a concurrent resolution, is it's a kind of a formal expression of Congress's will. So it's not all for nothing, but it really is just no more than rhetoric. It basically just is kind of just, we don't want this. We want you to ask us to go to war. It has no enforcement element to it inside of that. And so what it does do is it evokes Section 5C of the 1973 War Powers Resolution. And what it will basically do is it is going to direct Trump to withdraw from the conflict. It's going to direct him to pull all hostilities, pull them back until Congress can either put forward an AUMF, or they can actually give an actual declaration of war, or something to that effect, right? Either the AUMF or a specific declaration of war with Iran in some form like that. And so just because it does nothing ultimately, even if it gets into the Senate and the Senate passes it, it doesn't have any enforcement mechanism to it. And so what it really does is, because it doesn't cut funding, it doesn't have any kind of automatic trigger to withdraw troops, and it also doesn't withdraw any prior authorization. And so it does nothing. It basically just says Congress believes this. And so what does that do? It doesn't really do much at all, honestly. And so Trump, even in his first term, again, like I referenced just a second ago, he disregarded one as well. The only positive really about this is the fact that it will keep it in the news. And so because the House got it to pass, although they tried passing, it's like the fourth or fifth attempt now, that now the Senate's going to have to be talking about it. Now Senate members are going to have to confront this issue. Senate members are going to have to actually respond and interact with this, which is good in the sense that it keeps the pressure up. And so it acts as a bit of a pressure multiplier in the sense that many people will going to be talking about this. Many people, like myself included, on stream right now, obviously. But so it will feel like the ball has been pushed down the field. Ultimately, it hasn't. But it does serve as an example or as an ounce of pressure towards this overall, keeping it in the news cycle. And more than likely, what you're going to see is you're going to probably see conversations of Senate members discussing this bill, going back and forth over this bill. And so you might see some new faces discussing it that are going to be outside of the House, outside of people like Thomas Massey, who've been pushing this pretty heavily for some time. And what is up, Liquid Fire? What is up, Junior? Let me read some of these chats here. What is Junior saying over here? He says, evidently there's a large arc Trump had constructed in front of Arlington that has received a lot of criticism. That MFR is a draft dodger, and now this Trump arc blocks the tableau of the cemetery. Lovely stuff from Donald Trump. But to get into the featured story and what is the thumbnail item, we are going to be looking specifically at this rally that is happening, the anti-white rally in Frisco, Texas. And move it over to here. Well, of course. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Wait 1 second. Hopefully my thing will load. There we go. So this is the initial post from Zul Mohammed. This initial post from Zul Mohammed was looks like it was on Facebook, and this is the first annual, what he says, rally against rednecks. hosted by himself. He says that we make Frisco, Texas great. And it's a photo of himself, although he does look like a rather swarmy individual. We're doctors, lawyers, engineers, IT professionals, academia, your neighbors. And so what does he say here? Inside of his post, he says, are you tired of hearing low-class people blame your culture for the problems? You should be attending the rally against REDNECKS, an evening dedicated to celebrating the contributions of our local Asian community and letting a bunch of trailer trashy yokels what the world really thinks about them. They say when? Tuesday at June 2nd at 5 p.m. Where? Frisco City Hall, 6101, whatever. And so just in there, you can see that, you see this Indian is saying, or Indian, Pakistan, whatever he is, coming out and saying, calling us, any white people who are irritated, white people who are pushing back, white people who are literally incorrectly calling out the Indian and otherwise all non-white invasion of this country as being part and parcel, largely a big reason of why we are experiencing what we are experiencing in this country. And what's funny is he calls them low class. And so this was the start of it, although it didn't really seem to get much traction, although it is getting traction. Well, I guess it did, seemingly maybe more so in the retconning of it. And yeah, Frisco City, Texas. What's funny about this is also happening in Texas as well, although in a different area, is the Carmelo Anthony trial. And so there's also now groups of black people who are now saying it was self-defense. I was trying to make sense of it when I was reading some of this stuff earlier. There's a couple clips going around. Ultimately, it does feel like a rather non-existent rally, just a few black people out there screaming that Carmelo Anthony was right in the sense that it was self-defense, which is, I don't even know how you could argue that in any sense, but black people do black people things. And so Texas is seemingly popping off currently right now. So Zol Mohammed literally got shut down. And so I'll reiterate what I said earlier, which is that there was supposed to be, again, that initial rally, as in we just read the Facebook post of it. But it seems, and apparently so, nobody showed up to the rally. But who did show up was everybody who was angry about his rally. So the counter protesters did show up. And so they're calling it the redneck rally. So there's the rally against rednecks, then there's the redneck rally counter protest. And so this is Zol Muhammad showing up and being basically shouted down. So we'll take a listen to this. And there's some police behind him there as well. And this is the redneck also who was in the thumbnail as well. He looks very distinct. Now, I will say, those are some definite rednecks. Yeah, except Marcus. He is a gentleman. So, I'll let you know that I've seen other videos. I've been watching and reading the news all day this day and this morning. And there's a video prior to this jacket being off. But at one point, he actually does have his jacket on. And I'm not even kidding you. He's like, he like rips it off in some kind of act of machismo. But you can see just in this perspective here, he's like the smallest guy there. You have some like Down syndrome Mexican even beefing up to him, right? Like, look at this. You see this? You see this Mexican with Down syndrome like beefing with them? Like, look at their heights. I'm not even trying to be rude, but like, come on now. That guy is not fully functioning. But respect, patriot, right? Look at this. You think you're going to rip your jacket off? And think about the audacity, too. Think about the audacity of this Indian to come out here, Pakistani, whatever, and shout down to American people. It's like, no, you should be grateful you even have what you have right now at all, that you've been allowed here. And then he just grabs his stuff and apparently walks away. Yeah, you should. In disgrace as well. Where's all these Indians? I thought all these doctors and lawyers and engineers were going to show up. And W to this guy, too. This guy's just out here being redneck of the world. Yeah, how are you going to get mobbed by a retarded Mexican? That doesn't make any sense to me. Smelly Balls would know, though. I'm just kidding, dude. I gotta stop. Me and Smelly Balls, we go way back. But this is just kind of a beautiful photo, a beautiful snapshot here of this angry Indian that no other Indian came to represent. But you think they would have, right? You would think there'd be a little bit more of a tribalist sense to that. That was one of the initial posts of this. Now, there's a viral post from Elijah Schaefer of this individual, who I'm not sure who he is, Clayton Walker, who is ripping the Indian flag, shredding it into pieces. based. W. And that's good. So what's funny about this overall is that what it looks to be is that what was an attempt, seemingly an angry short man, rage out, crash out, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to tag it as. His Facebook post maybe got likes then, who knows, but he specifically goes all out of his way to do this machismo, bravado, anti-white. He's angry at all these white guys who are correctly calling him out for how brown and Indian he is. And they're probably angry, like, hey, get off my porch. Why are you shitting on my porch? Hey, that's my cat. Stop eating it. He got tired of hearing that. And so because of that, he comes and does this rally here. And only for nobody to show up, no one backs him. Perhaps the other Indians weren't getting paid enough. And what he gets is just desserts, as all the rednecks who did see it, who were pissed off at what he had to say about them, did show up. And so that was actually kind of a very ironic thing, obviously, but a W to that. And in turn, it's now become a moment of representing for the for all of the rednecks, if you will. So rednecks together strong. Romulus says would have faced a lot worse pre-civil rights, not to say they should. And wholeheartedly, right? Yeah, he's really only here because of what has happened in the last 100 years and the way that we have reorganized and established what we are accepting of immigration. Nogo House says that Texas is 39.8% non-Hispanic white, which is a sad figure, actually, to see that it is literally less than half. Not even the majority, but less than half. That is sad. The dude looks like The Undertaker. That's funny. And is Tom Foe in here? I think, yeah, Tom Foe was in here earlier. W to Tom Foe. New video is out. Make sure you guys go and see that. Luke Fire says, returning the tides, boys. And it is. I think this is a prominent response, and it is off the back of, again, the Henry Nowak. I keep saying it wrong. But the Henry Nowak situation happening over there in Great Britain. And it looks like maybe we didn't get as much spicy stuff. I was half expecting, honestly, to wake up yesterday morning and to see some news or to see something to the effect of, like, somebody got murdered or some kind of riot broke out even further than what was already occurring. And it seems like it's not really gone from where we were at last night, which was dumpster fires and smacking back and forth of some like plastic riot shields. Which isn't to say it's bad by any means, but I guess I was expecting to see maybe it go a little bit over the hump than what we've seen. And I think the bare minimum, what I was kind of expecting is that's going to take the shape and form of what we see with the BLM riots. Are we at least going to get, perhaps they don't like to go in, hold a coup, right? Or perhaps they don't go and invade the police station. Perhaps they don't go and, surround the guy's house and hold the guy, the criminal hostage. But would we see any kind of BLM-like response? Would we see anything to the effect of throwing bricks through windows? Would we see anything to the effect of burning, mass amounts of dumpsters and random other garbage across the streets, breaking into other things? Would we see anything like that? And it seems to kind of stay at the very, very low level vibration of that. But I would expect that we're going to see that before we see any kind of stronger response, whether people are trying to hold or take over places like Chaz, if you guys remember anything from the 2020 riots that we had between from COVID and BLM and George Floyd and everything else. Crazy times. Now, there is Nicky Rudd, however. Got a short minute clip of Nicky Rudd I'll pull up on the screen for you guys. And again, I don't know if he's still with the Rift TV. I would imagine he is. But even if he's not, he came originally from Rift TV. And this is him. He says, Indians organized an anti-white rally and boomers responded by yelling about Islam and eating bacon to own Muhammad. Can we stay focused one thing at a time? Terrible optics. And so right there, he does highlight the fact that there is, and part of this is part and parcel, because of all of the strong pro-Israeli sentiment that exists in this country. And again, to continue and to also push the pro-Israel sentiment, what you need alongside that to obviously keep it well-rounded is also very strong anti-Islam sentiment. So I'd imagine here that a lot of these boomers just see brown people and they see this kind of rally or this kind of positioning, probably some signs as well. Their mind tells them everyone brown who is not black, every Arab is Muslim. And it seems to be that's what took place here. So here's the video.
So here we are, guys, at what was supposed to be the anti-Indian immigration into Frisco protest, but now you can see it's devolved into pressure cooker of Muslims protest. Okay, they're all like surrounding one guy all by himself in there. How is this productive? What are we doing here? Is this gonna actually like stop Indian immigration that's taking over Frisco? Or is this actually just giving fire to the fuel of all of our enemies and making us look stupid? I would say that's probably what it's doing. Let's be smart about what we say. Let's be strategic. Let's use the political power we have to pressure those who hold government office and make them bend the law to our will to save our state and to save our country. That should be the focus. That's what we're trying to do here at Rift TV going forward.
Okay, so we are still with Rift TV. I wasn't sure or not. I know that all the affiliates kind of took their things out of their tags and whatnot. So really, that was my best way of knowing. It's like when I see their X posts, it's like, oh, okay, big orange square in there. Okay, must be with Rift TV. But he's spot on here with the optics as well too, because the reason why he's responding about the optics is responding about, well, what is the B-roll footage going to be when CNN runs the response op-ed tomorrow morning, when they're going to use some of like the worst looking photos of what will look like, copper selling rednecks, yelling at an Indian man. And this does stand to reason that this is part of the issue, is the lack of understanding of what is actually going on. Now, for some people, it is their fault. It is because of the fact that they just simply aren't responsible enough to go out of their way to pay attention to the news. There is also an element of older people that seems to be that they expect that the news be just simply given to them or told to them. I know many people with the boomers, it's the TV, right? It's just, the TV is the truth. The TV, if it's on the TV, it's real. And without many of my streams obviously not being on TV in boomers households, many Nick Fuentes streams not being in too many boomers households, this presents a huge problem, which is that, again, because it's so much is controlled, a lot of these boomers come out and they're half awake of what's actually going on. So I don't think ultimately this is going to be used anything that ultimately negative optics wise, because again, I think the bigger optic here is how this guy tried holding an anti-white rally and no one showed up, which is kind of incredible. Again, not for this one, but for the Muhammad, Zol Muhammad, whatever his name is, and whoever he even is. I have no idea who this guy is. Now here is Elijah Schaefer's post. This one's a bit longer, but this is the one that I saw last night and almost played on the kick stream, but didn't get a chance to, but we will play it here right now. And we'll take a listen to what Elijah Schaefer has to say about Indians taking over Frisco, Texas, and their anti-white positioning.
Is heating up in North Texas here in Dallas, where Frisco City, where we're at right now, is at the center of a national debate against Indian immigration. Now the problem was there was supposed to be a protest today against white people. It was called the anti-redneck protest. It's supposed to unite together individuals from Bangladesh, from India, to basically make fun of white people as being sort of lower class and say that Frisco belongs to them. Now, what keeps happening in this movement, whenever we make grounds on maybe talking about Israel and the real problem with AIPAC and Zionist institutional Jewry, or we talk about the other side effect of that world Jewry, which is, of course, the Indian invasion, where they're flooding our streets, because Indians are sympathetic to what? Israel. They're very pro-Israel. That's why they're doing it. That's a huge reason why. And they're very controlled.
And on that point specifically, there has been a few things that have come out that was just kind of really eye-opening to this as well. But one video came out earlier today, and I'm not sure if it's from today or if it's just kind of circulating in relation to a lot of what's happening with this Fresco rally and just this general like anti-Indian sentiment that's been building. And I wouldn't say it's anti-Indian, it's just people reacting to the fact that they're invading our country, taking our jobs, and they're being very tribalistic about it. But there was one, and I saw a video, and it was an Indian man like waving an Israeli flag, like yelling with like Muslims. I don't know what they were, whether they were Pakistani or whatnot, but he's like waving the Israeli flag, and he's like yelling at the top of his lungs, like, you guys hate homosexuals, like you guys push hate. And it's just, is this going to be the new bioweapon that we have to face, is pro-Israel Indians? There's so many of them. Are they just going to absolutely flood the system with this kind of stuff? It's rather concerning, but we've kind of seen this, we've known this, and I think it was well early on in the Iran conflict, before it became like the war. I think this was even maybe before Operation Midnight Hammer. I'm forgetting the timeline here, but there was a portion of time where there were many Indians being basically yanked out of Iran due to the fact that so many of them were being linked to Mossad. So, so when you see this, it's like, this seemingly is already, there's already precedent for this. Is this perhaps what's going to be happening here in the United States? We're going to just be getting a bunch of Indians going up to hold the pro-Israel banner. So instead of, not only are you being replaced, they're going to replace you for the sentiment for pro-Israel. They're like, who cares? We don't need white people to support Israel. We'll have all the Indians. Crazy times. And Liquefire says the Pujiks know it's the Jew that's to bring them over to the West. That is true. And Uncle House says they have to import new voters to maintain their power. True. That's actually, yeah, that's literally what I just said. They don't care about the, all the whites can lose their support for Israel. Don't matter as long as we have a bajillion Indians who will vote for whatever we say.
Are caste system individuals, they are in-group preferential individuals, and they don't assimilate, they don't mix, and they don't actually like white people very much.
Hilton sent $20.
Their hygiene is bad, their driving is bad.
Thank you for the super chat, Hilton. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
So what was supposed to happen here is essentially the Indians
no message
politically active, and they
I appreciate the dog.
Hey, well, you guys don't like us. Well, hey, we don't like you. Now, what always happens, and you see this with like Tommy Robinson's rallies in the UK, which they do actually have an Islam problem in the UK, so that is fair, is it always ends up becoming about Islam. And look, I don't support
He says I'm shy.
Islam really does have fundamental
That's funny.
in the United States. Most white Americans, heritage Americans,
No book recommendations, man?
don't want Islam intermingling with
I'm dying to tell you.
our great, Hagia Sophia, that we did to Constantinople, and we want vengeance on the Muslim for that. But right now we're at war with Islam because the Jews don't like Muslims, not to get vengeance for Christians. It's because ramping up Islamic hatred is what gets people sympathetic for the foreign wars that we're wasting hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars over the last several decades.
And this is 100% true. Let me read this because I guess member chats don't show up in Power Chat. From William Maines, he says one world order importers. That's I guess if we're running out of terms for the Jew, one world order importers works, right? It sounds a bit better than globalists, actually. That's funny. You could also say big nose deletes, hook nose elites. There's a bunch of we can find a bunch of different ways. Nothing's good as a 3-letter word that we all love, right? And but this is true. I mean, like this is part of the reason they have to. The anti-Islamic sentiment, this anti-Islam, this painting people out to enemies is required. It is the staple. I would say it's even more of a staple than just having just general evangelical support. And the reason being is because if you can demonstrate and exhibit in the States, like here in the States, of like what Muslims do and like how Islam even tries to maneuver and act inside of the country here, then you have like a bit of a stool to leap off of and say, well, if they're doing this here in the US, think about how much worse they must behave. Think about how much worse their country must be. Think about how disgusting their culture, what the consequences of that are in the Middle East. And so when they present, Israel, it comes forward in the sense of, well, it's the lesser of two evils. And so if you're forced to pick, which many people seem to think that they're forced to pick, they have to take a side in the Middle East, as if that is even a question or the engagement element here, you get these kinds of results. And it is sad too, because there have been so many people who I think are utterly mind-effed about this issue, and they can't even break themselves away from it. And you have some of these boomers. I mean, think about what their story is of 9/11. Think about what their story is of 2001. Think about how many of these family members who did believe wholeheartedly the narrative of 9/11, 2001, their sons or their daughters or their grandsons going out to fight overseas, getting damaged, getting messed up. And so they have themselves, like they feel like they have stake in what this is. Like they have family members. They were in the military themselves. And not all those individuals even really, they themselves understand the full picture, the full problem. And so it's easy now, it's easy for a lot of them to get the support against Islam because it's the story. This is what took your two towers away. This is why TSA exists. They blow stuff up with bombs. They put clothes on women. And that seems to be a rallying cry for some of these individuals. And a lot of them is because they are, they have liberal priors. And it's a necessary element. And it's a thing of contrast as well, too, because if you had all of the pro-Israel support and it was all just boosting Israel, pro-Israel, everyone loves Israel, and there wasn't a reason, why, it would be a lot easier to say, well, maybe we just don't need to. Like, I'm not that rah-rah for Israel. But when it's attached to the fact of, well, if you don't, then Muslims take over. If you don't, then all the Jews die. If you don't, then there is no nation of Israel. Well, if you don't, then they're going to come for you next. Now it's a lot more of a substance to it. Now there's a lot more of rhyme and reason to why we should just be funneling money to and from this, this small nation, this ethno state over in the Middle East. And quite literally, that helps them not have to make pro arguments in the sense of Israel in and of itself, like singularly looking at why we should help this country. And so therein, it stays in the nexus of, well, we have to help them because of Muslims. And that is the most successful way that they've been able to do this. Because again, if you remove the Islamic element from it, we have to support Israel to do what? We're just giving money to a country? We're just like, we just love Jews this much? We just hand over billions of dollars a year? Like, no, that wouldn't make sense at all. And that would be a much easier thing to poke holes through, as in people would look at other countries we give money to and they'd be like, well, there's no return on benefit here. It's not really transactionatory. They're not even listed they're not even a signatory as like an actual defense ally. Like, this doesn't make any sense. But when they have the constant, incessant nuclear threat and just general ideological threat of the Islamic nations, well, then it's much easier. You just point to a guy wearing a turban screaming Allahu Akbar, and they go, oh, take my money. Like here, oh my gosh, here's $40. So take all of it, take the billions. So it is, Elijah's spot on here.
And so two things can be true at the same time. You cannot agree that Islam is the best path forward for our country and we should restrict Islamic.
Yeah, Donnie, we'll talk about that here in a second.
Speaking, if you just restrict non-white immigration in general, that solves the whole problem. And fundamentally speaking, when you're attacking a religion, well, that's kind of like what? There's white Muslims, there's all types of people that are Muslims. But when you focus on something that actually matters, like world Jewry or the Indian, like from a specific country, Indian immigration, there's always someone that comes in and hijacks it. And that seems to be what happened here. Now people are ranting.
Agreed, Miller.
Muslims and pressure cookers and Muhammad being a child molester and the Quran. And it's like, maybe they're all true statements, it's okay. But we were supposed to be combating the Indian question here. And that's what Frisco's about.
The Indian question.
It's about stopping.
I want less questions, man.
Of Dallas, the heartland of America. But we can't even have that. So there's definitely something coordinated here. And, it starts to become suspicious that it ends up being our own right-wing people. They agitate, they have bad optics, and they end up just making us look stupid. And now we're walking around here arguing with nobody about nothing because a counter-protest was created last minute with really good graphics, by the way, that was like, oh, we're going to be fighting Islam. And it's like, well, no, I'm a Frisco resident.
Yeah.
We're sick and tired of the Indians that live here, and nobody's talking about it. So there's.
I didn't know that he lived in. I didn't even know he would self-report like that. He says he's a Frisco resident. But yeah, the Indian question is like it's ultimately like that is actually kind of becoming a different question now, isn't it? Seeing how it's kind of ancillary to Israel, but not attached to Islam. And it's generally just almost like a secondary element. Like you could say the Indian Somali question almost. These communities seemingly are very similar. I would say, however, I think Indians are, because they're a slightly bit more functional, they're actually much more damaging in the sense of what they are able to do. Right? For the Somalians, like if there literally wasn't like a woman waiting, like a Democrat waiting for the moment they cross the border and they get off the boat and handing them like a guidebook and like, call this number for these benefits, call this number for this. They wouldn't really honestly be much of a threat. They'd honestly, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I don't think they would really have the means to do so. But that is part of the problem, is the fact that when these people do get here, you have some retarded, progressive, stupid Democrat or otherwise some Jew who's sitting there and like, oh, and then here's this place, go here for these benefits. Oh, and actually then you need to go here and go to this place for these benefits. And when you're done with that, go to this place. And then in 14 days. When you're ready, you should be eligible for SNAP benefits. And then after this, you should be eligible for this, and you should be eligible for this, and be eligible for this, and do it like this. And they basically have like handlers who like essentially like set that up for them. Indians being ever so slightly more functional and a bit more tribalistic, I think present even worse problems, which is what we're seeing in the tech sector right now, which is they are literally dominating it and they're keeping people out. Now, Somalians are sucking us dry. Well, pause. Somalians are absorbing a bunch of welfare, but they're ultimately not in many positions of power or in wealthy positions or positions or jobs in good labor. That's the Indian element. So two different sides of similar coins. Pine says that he moved there to fight the Indians on a stream. Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. That's funny. That's funny. Because your hair turns that way the moment you enter the city limit. That's funny. Everyone's still talking. Hey, I think it's honestly not that bad. It looked worse when he first had it done, but I don't think it's that bad, if you were asking me, to be honest with you.
There's definitely some weird coordination, and I think we're gonna have to get to the bottom of this. And I'm really tired of these bad
freebase versus database.
They're
That's
just
good.
like walking around doing stupid shit and stunts to basically make us look bad and make us look low IQ, make us look like dumb. Those people don't represent me. And yelling about Palestinians and Iranian nuclear weapons, the fuck does that have to do with Dagjit, Pajit, and fucking Abdul, Punjab blocking my aisle today in Costco? And I almost die every day on my roads. My stores are turning into Indian eateries. Everything smells like curry and shit. And there's litter.
True.
Litter all over the streets.
So true, King.
That's my issue. And that's a lot of people's issues, that America's not looking like America. So we can throw Islam into that, I guess. But it seems like everything in the right-wing movement is about just getting people against Muslims. Even our Indian issue is now about Muslims.
But of course. They have to. And think about it like this, too. Like, if the whole idea is that even Israel's catching on, right? Israel's, to the tune of $730 million, like the budget for their Hezbollah program and their branch is just absolutely massive at this point. And when you think about it now, it's like, so the cat's out of the bag. Okay. So many people are now, they see pro-Israel stuff. They see an Israeli flag in bio. This, opinion discarded, right? Which is true. It should be. You see an Israeli flag in someone's bio, you block them. You don't listen to them. They have nothing of value to tell you. So if the cat's out of the bag on the pro side of it, meaning that everybody who's like, I love Israel, Israel's our greatest ally, those are like detectable now. It's like now we've almost built, because of the efforts and multi-generational run from Nick and then people like Candace and Tucker and others. Now it's like, now we as right-wingers have a reaction to that. You hear our greatest ally, you're like, dun, dun. It's like, what's that sound? You hear that and you're just like, okay. You're like, okay, automatic red flag. So would that not immediately imply that they should get rid of the pressure on the pro side and then start pushing harder for the negative side? Well, if everyone's kind of catching on to the pro-Israel stuff, well, maybe we should lean into the anti-Muslim stuff, which also helps us. It's less specific, it's less detectable, but still helps carry water towards the main goal, which is basically what you saw there in Frisco, which is essentially, if every boomer is just like on Fox News, it's Muslim, jihad, and they're posting photos of Sneeko and he's like Allahu Akbar, and they're like, oh my gosh, like it's these disgusting Muslims. So it's no wonder. And it makes sense strategically that they would be leaning into that instead of the pro element. Because again, what person in the year of our Lord 2026 is going to see Randy Fine saying, I love Israel, and not immediately clicking off of a video or immediately swiping away, at least for the most part. So it makes sense that they've heavily been dumping a lot of resources into the anti-Islam sentiment. And we've been seeing this. It's been all over the timeline for the last few days. And you even see it still, some of it's still inside of these older crowds. The whole, like, you see what they do to gay people? It's like, yeah, when I see what they do to gay people, I clap. What are you talking about? And so it shows that there's a strong, like, differentiation still, between what the boomers are really consuming. And again, because it's like they grew up in the in the Jurassic age, if you will. And so the social media stuff on X and all of that, it's not permeating. It's not penetrating. Pause. It's not penetrating deep enough, and it's like, because they're not even there to get from it, if you will. The Monster says, do you forgive them? Ultimately, that's our call and duty as Christians, is to forgive them. And I think that's kind of like where I'm at, right? Which is, I don't hate boomers, although as much as my body and mind and soul is telling me to, I understand why they are the way that they are. I don't like that they are the way that they are. And I think that they do marginally would stand out compared to other generations as being a bit more greedy and narcissistic, especially when you're looking at the wealth transfer. But ultimately, it's our call as Christians, like, to forgive them, you know, when we were supposed to. And I think that then again, that entails us to find better ways to overcome. And again, too, like, part of it is also like, you're never even going to convince a boomer. It's the same. You still would also get like, there's also like no value in trying to persuade them, and there's no value in arguing with them, right? And I think that it will also go in the same vein for a lot of guys probably have like strained relationships on, like, with their parents. And so in the vein of what I would say with that is, like, you might feel better, like, you might feel cathartic, you might feel better, like, personally, if you let loose. And I know there's a guy in a Discord, I won't name him unless he wants to be named, but I know there's a guy in the Discord who's really struggling with like a bit of a back and forth, not seeing eye to eye with their parents. And you may very well feel cathartic. You feel great. You're like, you know, like, I'm going to put it to them. Like, my parents are so wrong about this. Like, they're like, and you just like, you're ripping into them. Okay. Well, we know how the most boomers interact and engage. And you guys saw it with Chuck Mason. And also shout out to Daily Riot for featuring the debate. That's pretty cool. We should collab sometime. But when you see that, the reaction to the boomers have is like, they're never going to back down. They're never going to walk away from that. So you might very well feel cathartic, and you're like, at least like I said my piece. It's like, well, that all that gets you is now a more strained relationship with your parents. And so sure, there might be good. They might have some good in the sense of like, now you don't feel like you're holding something in, or you're not saying something back to them. But the way I see it playing out in most of these guys' lives and relationships is that it just basically, this puts strain on their relationship. You know, arguing with these boomers who will never see eye to eye with where you are on these things, who will never accept what their generation has done, who will let alone accept the way you feel about women and the way you feel about Jews and everything else. So I would just say, I would encourage many people like you, I would withhold red pilling or trying to have any kind of conversation like that unless you had almost near certainty that this person was capable of having an open mind or would be willing to actually see what you are saying. Because otherwise it just puts people in bad spots, you know? And it's like, well, now you're no contact with your parents, it's like, well, that kind of sucks. You know, it's not to say like, it's just to say you don't need to be adding or making your life harder than what it is, just to have, you know, like personal wins, you know, to make yourself feel better. And then for some of you, maybe you just need that. Maybe that would be helpful, you know, to like, just let it be, let bygones be bygones. You could let it out, but I ultimately wouldn't recommend it. Forgive me. You know, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, it's, you know, I ultimately, like, for me, it's like, I'm streaming, I'm making videos about this. I'm doing this day in and day out. I can't really hide it. You know what I mean? But for some of you, it's like, so trust me, take it from me, the way that some of my relationships have burned up in flames, it doesn't feel good. It's not to say I would go back and like, oh, I would hide it. And like, oh my gosh, you know, oh no, I don't mean it. Oh my gosh, no, I actually think Jews are really cool people. It would be more so in the lens of like, maybe I would have approached it a bit more silently, or would have tried to maybe articulate myself better. Because once you destroy certain relationships, you can't get back. And it's, you know, first impressions are everything. And so not to go on a diatribe about that, but I would really recommend some extreme caution to people if they were trying to red pill people like in their family. Random boomers in your life, who cares? But like specifically like family members, people who you have to talk to daily or weekly or monthly or whatever, I heavily caution and would ensure that you are very on your P's and Q's if you're willing to do that. So that is the anti-white rally in Frisco, Texas. That is what we have been covering. And I think they all had the correct takes. I think both Nikki and Elijah Schaefer were correct there in the optics, as well as the burden's on us. The burden's on us as the younger generation. I say that as a boomer myself. That's what it feels like. But that's why the groypers are what they are. This is a high IQ movement, and our whole entire purpose is to be the tip of the spear, to be what is capable, what is directing the storm, what is culling the herd, who is, you know, defining the boundaries, who is cleaning the cut, That's the purpose. And that's the purpose that we serve, is to be the high IQ. This is what we're here. We are a serious political movement. And in order to be a serious political movement, we need to know what we're talking about. We need to be in the utmost best behavior. We need to know what we're carrying water for and what we're carrying water against. We need to be elite human capital, forgive me. And we'll get into a little bit of a monologue from Nick from last night, which I thought was really good. There's a folder one that was posted by Suka Groiper. If you guys missed the show, if you just want to see that monologue on white males or white people in general fighting back, it's about a 20-minute one. Suka Groiper posted. The show was great last night. And we'll watch a 5-minute clip of it here in a second. So the other news story that came out that was pretty solid today, actually, that does have a bit of a maybe broader or more national sense to it, is going to be the story that the fact that Zach Lane, I think it's pronounced as Lane, not Lon, but Zach Lane defeated the Trump-endorsed Representative Randy Feenstra in Iowa's gubernatorial race. And Lane campaigned on an Iowa First agenda, rejecting outside influence and funding, including money from AIPAC. He was endorsed by RFK Jr.'s Maha Action and has pledged to bar illegal immigrants from receiving state benefits while ending H-1B visas for state government and university jobs. Later says, Booming, I feel like it, dog. I'm getting there. Craig says, it's me, but they actually called me out for our conversation. That's funny. Saying it was too radical. That's funny. No, there are a couple. There are a couple. But no, I didn't have you in mind, Craig, but I do know you're going through something similar. I'm just saying it in the most personal sense of, take it from me. I am 100% certain and convicted that I have done the right thing and I am correct about what I'm saying, but I'm still also telling you I'm 100%. It feels bad to have strained relationships with nearly everybody in your life because they find you to be so politically toxic or just toxic in general that you're treated as if you're not even a human being. So if you're willing to carry that, then by all means, do what you need to do. But I'm telling you, for me personally, it's not me going I know. It's just to say there have been some consequences to it, and some of which I didn't even expect. So just tell you like that. But this is a big W. Lane beating Randy Feenstra makes it the first of what I expect is going to be many hopes. That's the hope. That's the, we're all kind of, twisting our fingers, crossing our fingers, I should say, that this is one of the beginning of many of Trump-endorsed candidates that will ultimately lose. That is what we are hoping for. And so that's what this represents. And so Zach Lane himself was actually, and this is kind of a bit weird here, but Zach Lane himself was literally represented by Maha. He was endorsed by RFK Jr.'s Maha and beat MAGA. So Maha beat MAGA in Iowa, by the way. And what's up, Dressar? Anybody else who just recently came in? And it's also interesting because Turning Point also endorsed Zach Lane over Randy Feenstra. Now, I don't know if it was Turning Point in the broader sense of its organization, but I do know it was TP Action that endorsed Zach Lane, which is curious. But I know there are differences between the organizations. And I will say this too. I was looking a little bit because I knew nothing about this race. When I woke up this morning, I had no idea who these people were. But when I was digging into the race, looking into what was occurring there in Iowa, you can find that Zach Lane had a very, very, very explicit campaign that was about representing the values of the people there in Iowa. And so that to me was a very you can just see it. You can see it day in and day out. He also was talking about it when he was on with Tucker Carlson. You can see it in his campaign. It's green. He had the aesthetic of it it carried there as well too. And his big stuff was, he was especially uprooting against things like big ag and big pharma. Talking about how the fertilizer being basically monopolized, 90% of, fertilizer in the U.S. being monopolized, pointing at big pharma, and very specifically pointing out the things that would be specific to Iowa, what they would care about, those constituents. And so W to Zach Lane for beating out Randy Feenstra. However, I will say, though, that the endorsement from Trump came super late. And so I watched a video from a journalist who was actually in Iowa. He's an Iowa resident, and so he does local politics there. And he was a 2.5-minute video of him just walking down the street giving his thoughts. And apparently there was a poll that had came out about a week to 10 days ago that did show that Zach Lane was surging and had a 2-point lead over Feenstra. Now, ultimately, Zach Lane only won by 0.8 points, but the point stands that it was literally like the day or two after that poll surfaced that the White House gets involved and then Trump endorses him. So Trump endorses him super late in the race, but he ultimately still does. And he also put out a Truth Social post as well, but it was not enough. And so I think that's what the bigger story here is it's less about Zach Lane, but more so about the fact that this is the first of what I hope, again, to be many of Trump endorsements not winning, not resulting in automatic wins, not looking like the golden ticket that they used to look like just even a year ago. And that is a W. And so there was also one of the other notes that they were talking about in this video was that there was a very strong lack of enthusiasm, that Randy Feenstra just was not really driving the crowds, that he was not showing up to town halls, he wasn't showing up to debates. And one specific quote I have here was that many people were saying he's essentially he's being a cardboard cutout for the work that he should be doing. Now, I don't know if that references that he literally had a cardboard cutout that he pushed out, or if he like they were just saying like he's not showing up, or maybe staffers were showing up for him instead of himself. But I mean, and just look at the guy too. I mean, like when you just look at this guy, it's like he should, yeah. I mean, like he should immediately go get a job for Criminal Minds or something, dude. He'd make a great serial killer in a movie. I would imagine this is the face many women have seen last before they took their last breath in the 80s and 90s. Terrifying stuff, and also, I'm curious. I mean, no, that's too far. That's too far. We're not going to say that. But anyways, so here's a couple of things I wanted to put up on screen for you. One of the first ones is this, and just to show you again, TP Action endorsed him, and not Randy Feenstra. So there was a bit of a split here as well. And this came from June 3rd. This is from 1 p.m. And this is from Andrew Colvich himself. He says, listen to TP Action endorsed Iowa Governor Zach Lane talk about the issues and understand why he won a tough race last night. And so this is a beautiful thing as well, too, because this is we're talking for governor, right? We're not talking about for any kind of just maybe perhaps random or different, just like random representative. We're talking about for governor, right? So this is a little bit more of a power grab against Trump than what even I was expecting was going to happen today. So we'll go ahead and take a listen to this video here. But this is Zach Lane right there. And try to ignore the other gay men in the picture, but we'll try to focus on just Zach Lane.
Who maybe is still getting to know you nationally, kind of your stance as a farmer in Iowa and about pesticides, glyphosate, so much that has animated people like Alex Clark on our team, and explain how that resonated with voters.
Yeah, I think a lot of what I talk about is facing down these long-term systemic issues we've been, looking at as a state, that have been going on for a very long time, and politicians from both sides just have not been addressing. One of the keys that you're mentioning there is Iowa has the fastest rate of new cancer of anywhere in the history of the world.
And so something I just noticed just now, because I didn't watch all of this video, I just saw the caption from Andrew Colvett. Look how it's very specifically TP Action endorsed candidate. And which is funny because they're specific. It's like they're going out of their way to make sure that it's not Turning Point endorsed. Because if it was, if people were a lot more aware that Turning Point endorsed the opposing candidate of Donald Trump, I think that would be a lot more newsworthy. And I think it should be. And I think this is to get out and away from that. They're not even using Turning Point Action. They're using TP Action endorsed candidate. Which is wild, right? Why so cowardly? Why not pushing against it? Nick said, rednecks are dumb, so why do we care? Don't we trust Nick above all else? I'd have no idea what you are referencing or even talking about.
I said last night, we're going to funerals of people who are dying at 60. You
should strive to be more than a redneck, if that's what you're asking.
The wisdom of an entire generation. So, but there's other things too that are really resonating with people. I was losing our kids faster than 46 other states. And, I was one of those kids. I thought I had to leave Iowa to find something better. I ended up coming back home. But I'm really fighting to try to make life more affordable, to help kids be able to buy their first homes, grow big families. That's really a lot of what our campaign's been about.
And so there you have it. Affordability, right? This is going to be huge. And I think you're going to be seeing this a lot more. Especially as we're going to start feeling a lot more of the consequences that have already been baked into our economy from what's been going on. And that did seem to be one of the top stories in more general news outside of just like the right wing Republican news, was that many people are beginning to fear what the pending economic collapse. And I think, as Nick referenced the other day, he said something to the effect of, the economy is over, like it's going to explode, it's done for, and people are feeling it. I mean, that's probably what the top fears are of people. If you were to separate it, maybe go beyond immigration, but affordability. So affordability, big ag, big pharma, specifically looking at things like food cost, farmer control, and you got to be on Iowa too. Iowa is a very, very prominent. They call them, corn-fed boys over there. Like Iowa is in the Big Ten for a reason, right? Iowa is also a very strong. Iowa is a very, very, very strong. What you would consider a Midwestern like farming state. They are very specifically, very, very, very heavily involved in that. For me personally, Iowa was like dominating in all these other kind of competitions. I was a part of FFA for a short period. Well, I was in FFA, I think, for 3 years when I was in high school, and we did really well in our state of Ohio. But there was so much specifically from Iowa where they were just dominating in national events as well. And so we only won, I think, the national title once. No, I think we won it twice, actually. But even inside of that, it was like, of the other like 10 chapters who were even up for it, it's like 7 of them were from Iowa. There's like 2 from Ohio, 7 from Iowa, I think 1 from Nebraska. And so Iowa is very, 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 their culture in Iowa is very strongly revolved around agriculture. So it makes sense that he has been speaking about it, strongly about it, for a long time. Yeah, FFA, is based. JR says that over 80% of all the farmland in Iowa is not used for growing food for Americans. I do believe I caught something of that effect that Zach Lane was saying earlier. And Dersar says, Zach Lane, Casey Putsch, Thomas Massey, James Fishback, squad of nationalism. We'll be curious to see what happens with Thomas Massey. Unsure where he goes from here. He still has, months left ultimately to serve in Congress, and he was one of the ones that voted for the Iran Wars Power resolution that was passed by the House. But curious if he turns it into a presidential bid or what he will actually do with the momentum, because he's going to act quick, because that political clout disappears rather fast. And so that was a kind of a good W there. But again, as I would add, the big story here is this is a 0.8 kind of win. Like he wins by 0.8 essentially over the Trump endorsed candidate. I would expect to see that, for one, this will serve as a positive, as in like, okay, it's not an automatic L. If Trump endorses your opposition, it's not like you're automatically going to lose. It's showing that it's not nearly as prominent as it once was. It means less than what it once did. And of course it did, right? Because a Trump endorsement is basically it's like Trump signing it. It's a badge of, I approve from Donald Trump. But it's also means nothing because Trump's words mean nothing, especially when what you've had over the last 3 months has been a bunch of gaslighting of the MAGA base. You've also had just straight up lying about what's been going on in the Iran war. And on top of it all, most people just view it, what he's done with the Epstein files, as a complete lie and obstruction of justice. And so for many people, his word means nothing. So the endorsement ultimately is going to see the reflection of that, which is now it means that the endorsement now ultimately means nothing. That's what happens when you lie through your teeth constantly. And also because when you bend over and you let BB get deep inside of you in ways that I will not describe. Now, while we're on Trump, I will move over to Trump because he sat down with Pod Force 1 earlier today. Emily Allen says he's one of those guys who just shut up and get it over with, or you're going to get hurt. We have Pod Force 1, which I'm assuming is a New York Post extension, which who even listens to these different podcasts from news sources anyways. But from AF Post, Trump confirmed he called Netanyahu effing crazy during a heated phone call, saying he was not angry but perturbed by the prime minister's actions in Lebanon. And so you get this confirmation from him, and again from Pod Force 1, what a lovely name from New York Post. I don't know who this woman is. It says Miranda Devine. It looks like it. But this is him, Trump, and of course, and you just got to think about that too. Like, you think about it from the vein of the way that Nick described it as well. And much like how we had been talking about it yesterday, like so much of the news and media in these big institutions is intelligence agencies putting things in front of you. It is intelligence agencies gathering stuff together to put in front of your face with an intention behind it. And much like he said then, or I don't know if he said this in a chat or if he said it on the show, but like the expectation is like, do you really think that you have staffers like listening in to Trump, like screaming his head off at Bibi Netanyahu, and then they're like, write that down. Like, no. And it's the same way, like, you think that Trump went out of his way today to go sit down on this podcast to just essentially confirm that the call was real. You go, why is this even important enough that you are going to give time to come sit down and confirm this and do this podcast with this woman that no one even has heard of, that no one's even going to listen to? That the only effect of this podcast is the only minute anyone's even going to listen to has already been clipped and is being circulated. Right? Like, no one's going out of their way to listen to this podcast. There are people who are finding this clip, and it's going to be really the only reference to it. And once again, putting it in your face. It's extending, and Trump, big D, Donald Trump putting his green badge next to it saying, confirmed, this did happen. Yes, I did yell at Netanyahu. Has the Iran war over yet? Nope. Has Israel been restrained yet? Nope. Has the incursion in Lebanon stopped yet? Nope. So what does it mean? It means nothing. And it's put in front of your face again to give you the idea, or for people who don't know or aren't in the know, they get this appearance, this feeling, this vibe. That's really all it really is, vibe. That, oh, there's some breathing room here between Trump and Netanyahu. Oh, Trump does have a line. Okay, Trump is going to tell Israel we can't do these things. Oh, Trump is, yeah, not until after the ceasefire agreement fell through. Not until after months of negotiations being utterly destroyed. Not after, I mean, we're at the point now where it's like, can we even reasonably expect a negotiation? Like, they basically pulled him off the table and immediately threatened to shutting down a secondary strait, the Bab el Mandab, right, which is largely for Asia to Europe channel with global shipping containers. It's nothing, but here it is. Here's Trump. Here's your news. Here's your Fox News approved news.
Axios reported that you had a phone call with Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, in which you were angry with him. You said, "Are you effing crazy?"
She's got a face for radio. Sure.
I helped you stay out of jail. Is that true? Did you speak to him in those terms?
I did. I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon. At some point I said, Bibi, we got to stop this. We got to stop it. But I have a very good relationship. We've done well together. He always says, we could never have done it, but everybody knows that we could have never done it without the United States. But I've worked very well together. I like Bibi a lot, and I've worked very well with him. We had I'm a wartime president. He's a wartime prime minister. Very important part of the world. And I think we've done, very well.
Yeah, we got the perfect one for it.
Oy vey.
That was my exact reaction to this. And look at that, dude. He's developing a little bit of a hook himself. You know those birds? I don't know if you guys know that. It's like the weightless birds or whatever. Where if you you can have the birds like beak on like the tip of your finger and like it won't fall. It's like a little bit of an optical illusion. I wonder if I could like hold Trump by his nose. He would just like dangle there, like weightless, perfect equilibrium. She doesn't have a face for radio. That's a little bit brutal. They should have done audio only, or just it's only on Trump. You just see like the mic and like a bit of her hair. It's like that's all you see. Yeah. Oh yeah, lovely stuff. More non-news, more just like rhetoric meant to design to fake you into thinking that there is stuff happening. It's honestly kind of insane that how much of news is actually this. It's so like meaningless, so utterly meaningless, really. And this was Netanyahu's response. He's probably the more important thing to pay attention to in this. So Netanyahu did respond, and Netanyahu gave his own comments of what he said about the phone call when a journalist asked him. And this is his response here from Mario Naval.
Talk about the call that you had with him this week, which is getting a lot of attention. The president confirmed that he said
at least 40% Jewish.
How did you react to that? What really happened in that call?
Well, I'm not going to get into details of our conversations. We've had thousands, a lot. And if you think this is a crisis, you should be in some other conversations. But we've always found a way. We have so many agreements. We agree on the main things. We want to get Iran, the nuclear program in Iran, finished. We want to make sure that Iran doesn't pose a threat to Israel, to the Middle East, to America, that it doesn't develop nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them, not only to Israel and to every capital in Europe, but to every city in the United States. That's our common goal. That's what we set out to do. And to expand the circle of peace, as the President and I did in the Abraham Accords together. So we have common goals. Sometimes we have, as in the best of families, you have these tactical disagreements. We always find a way to work them out. And we do so as great friends. We can disagree in the morning, and by the afternoon we have we're common action.
So I was going to.
Yeah. That expresses that Trump is really laying the wood down. No. Yeah, Trump is laying the wood down, but not the way we would want. It's just, man. And what's the rhetoric here, right? What's the rhetoric attached to inside of this? Our shared goal of Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Our shared goal of this Islamic dream who wants to just spread nuclear weapons and jihad and terrorism everywhere, right? So not pro-Israel, but anti-Islam. We're on the same page here. You know, we can yell at each other in the morning. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's nothing. It means nothing. It literally means nothing. At this point, I mean, and the thing is too, like, we don't even know anymore because we're in the dark with Iran, right? With no monitoring happening. We have no strong idea. We just have kind of some satellite images of like an idea of perhaps maybe it was transported or was moved or it's been recovered. So who knows where they're at with that now? And they'd be well within their right to continue pursuing it at this point. I mean, they're literally at war with countries that would do nothing but to seek to completely, utterly destroy them, but wanted to wipe out the regime and install it as a puppet state or a vassal state, or at least weaken it so much to the point that it would be it'd be forced to have to, capitulate to whatever our demands were. You know, the country's a sovereign country. Iran's allowed to defend itself, right? This is where we are. And people hear you say that and you're like, wow, you sympathize with Muslims? Like, wow, I don't sympathize with Jews. Like, and overall, I mean, the whole thing's just rough too, because people are dying. Like the people, literal, real human beings are dying and being blown up and being killed over this. Now it's been dying down a little bit, but there are still real people who have been suffering from this. You know, the United States have already lost multiple people. I think we're at 13. 13 U.S. service members have died for Israel. I mean, literally no joke, and that is disgusting. Even one is too much. Even one is far too many. And especially in the context of like we have young men and women dying for Israel, for the United States, for no gain to us at all. And at the same time, all of what they're doing, all of what's happening in the Iran war is actually making it worse for people back home. So not only are they dying for a foreign nation, they're dying in their attempts. It's making America a worse country when putting the global economy on a worse stage. Just unfortunate overall. And I guess a little bit more of Trump before we get over to the Nick monologue of what we should be doing in response here. Just what I talked about in reference to the beginning here, which again, it goes back to this kind of grotesque. I don't even know what you would really consider it, which would just be like a gross disconnect from what people actually want from this country. Maybe, and they're acting as almost they still have the same level of support that they had from early 2024, like the peak of the campaign in 2024. And so you know what I mean when I pull this up for you. This is from a scene on X, but it says Trump just had this done, and I won't even caption it or comment on it. Just play the video.
I just had this done. I'm getting a first glimpse, but that's your size compared. So those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including the Empire State Building, World Trade Center.
So you asked the question, you go, who is this for? Who is this for? Like, who is like certainly it's not for me. Like, when I saw this, it just made me angry, right? Just you get pissed off. You go, this is, now I want to throw hands. like, oh, lovely photo. Let's throw hands. Because it's just like, wow, this 2,000-foot Lincoln reflecting pole. That's crazy. I can't, gas is $5. And, the Indians just kicked me out of my home at knife point. I I went to go to work, but I couldn't because everybody speaks in Arabic and they changed the passcodes to Hebrew. I don't even know what I'm looking at when I tried to put in security codes to get in. And then when I did get in, I got robbed by a black, and then he stabbed me. And then when they called me racist, the cops left me to die. I'm only here because by the sheer will of my wantingness for my country to be whole again, I crawled back with one hand using my teeth to drag myself across the sidewalk before ultimately being kicked while I was down by a white liberal feminist. And so all in an effort so I could sit down in front of my desktop to be able to see this 30-second video of Trump bragging about how big the Lincoln pool. You just go, is this to like rub shit in our faces? Is this, or really is he drinking? Is he high on his own Kool-Aid? Is he seriously surrounded by this disgusting inner circle of people who are like, Trump, you're the best. Everyone loves you. MAGA's 100, 100. And we know that exists around him. And so that's kind of what this speaks to, is this is all the people who are huffing and puffing. And, I'm sure Hegseth is under the desk right now. Oh, Trump. So lovely. And I don't even want to sound like a stupid, liberal leftist or whatever. But it just like, there's a disconnect here, which is like, people don't want the Nobody in MAGA, the majority of the base want this. This doesn't speak to anybody like even halfway dissident right or by any means really actually heritage American. This just speaks to Trump bloviating over himself. And there's nothing to brag about right now. There's only criticism. And so this does again speak to the fact that there is a massive disconnect in what Trump is pushing for, what he thinks people won't even see. It's just a big effing joke from this guy. And like I mentioned as well earlier, here's another one. They intend to keep the claw structure up at the White House. And this kind of threw me for a loop. But apparently this structure that was built for this White House event, I don't know if the event already happened. I think it did already happen. But I'm assuming they expect to have more events held there because Sean Strickland, which we'll get to here in a second, has been banned from attending the UFC White House event. Here's Trump himself.
Don't know that in Paris, France, the Eiffel Tower, 1889 it was built. It was supposed to be taken down immediately after the World's Fair. And then they said, we sort of like it. Let's leave it up a little bit longer. And then they said, let's leave it up longer and longer and longer. Well, they never took it down. And, we're building something in front of the White House that's quite attractive to a lot of people. It's going to have the big UFC fight on June 14th. And I'm looking at it and maybe we'll never, ever take it down. I don't know that.
So maybe they're never going to take it down. The claw structure is what it's called. I'm sure it has a different name, to be honest with you, but that's at least what I saw it being referred to as on X. I think it says here in the caption as well. So he might keep the UFC claw structure on the White House lawn permanently. And then you're referencing the Eiffel Tower. Moon and NWA dislikers, just opinions on the Clarity Act. That sounds familiar. I don't have it in my notes for today. Let me just do a quick search for it, see if I am familiar with it at all. Was that passed recently? I only was paying attention to some of the that's so insane. I'm assuming is this connected to the CBDC crypto regulation? I'll have to take a look at it because I didn't read anything about it at all today. Interesting. So it cleared. So now I'd be going to the Senate for the. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at it. I'll bookmark that just so I can make sure to come back to it. I'll be honest though, crypto is like one of the most weakest elements of mine, fortes of mine, if you will. I'm a boomer in that sense. Like I've really only been in crypto just for Bitcoin, and like I don't care about NFTs or anything else. But I will take a look at it. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. And one last thing on the UFC White House claw thing is the fact that news today was that Sean Strickland says he is banned from attending the White House event. Says he made fun of Israel and Epstein, the only American champ banned at the White House. And you can see there's a comment section here. Looks like he's replying to a UFC post, it would appear. Says UFC at the White House and BB in the audience, straight Israeli slop. To be fair, they did ban me, but when you make fun of the leaders of America, they tend to be a little petty. LOL, by leaders, I mean Israel. I made fun of Israel and Epstein, the only male American champ banned at the White House because I said Trump is owned by BB. That's not public opinion. It's fact. That's wild. Hook says, buying crypto lowers your testosterone. Chat, Grok, is this true? Chat, is this real? Is that is chat, is that real? Vindicated? Am I vindicated now? Junior says Trump is building monuments and statues to himself all over DC. This type of hubris and pomposity have never been seen before by a still sitting president. True. I guess should be expected given the given what he was even before the presidency. And I think there's another from AF Post with more screenshots of his comments here, but I think we already kind of went over those. Yeah, these are all the different comments, just separated in a different format there from AF Post as well. That's crazy though, because Sean Strickland's like one of the most name brand recognizable UFC guys out there, at least from my perspective. Now, speaking of white males who are willing to stand up and willing to do something, there was a strong section in the, well, again, Nick's show last night was great. It was really, really good. But what I wanted to play for you was a shorter, about a 5-minute clip of Nick's kind of solution-oriented monologue moving forward. And that is this idea and concept of what it is to build, what we should be doing collectivizing, what we should be doing in terms of preparing ourselves for what is to come. And what hopefully may never pass, but seemingly is becoming more and more and more and more likely, and defensive measures for us. Now, when I say collectivizing, this doesn't mean that he's now wholehearted, he's now had a 180 and he agrees with our ball. No, that's still disavowed. The chapters and the segments and the Patriot Front and the militias and all of that, anything that places you by name or in a group, in a chapter, that just makes it easy to be targeted, he still is a strong no, and I agree. It's more so in the lens of in smaller groups, more so probably like friend groups and neighbors that you are on good terms with. That kind of more small level collectivization, lurking, not being overt and openly making a stake, if you will. So here's this monologue here. I'm going to put it up on screen. We're going to listen to this. This is the shorter version of it, mind you. By the way, this is the 5-minute version, not the 20-minute version. But I would still say people should take a listen. If they do find the longer version, or they see the longer version, I think it's just as good. Or just watch the show and catch the replay, whatever. But here's this. Nick on white communities, no violence, terrorism, militias. Find your group of like-minded people, become an asset yourself, and start helping each other. Here's this.
This is what white people need to do. Let me be very explicit. People say, so what's the solution? Let me tell you the solution. We do not support terrorism, acts of violence. I say this because if I encourage this, I will go to jail. Okay? So I am not in favor of terrorism. I'm not in favor of murder, violence, anything like this. This is how you need to protect yourself.
Yeah, usually it's motivating.
In many different forms.
This one especially.
And what you need to realize is you are on your own. The police are not looking out for you. They were not looking out for us when the COVID lockdown happened. They were there holding you down and forcing you to get the vaccine. They're not looking out for you during BLM. Black people were destroying your storefront and chasing you around and killing you, and police were standing off to the side. So was Trump, for that matter. So you need to understand no one is coming to save you. No one is looking out for you. There is no justice here. There is no propriety. The government will not use lawful force to protect you. So what does that mean? It means you need to protect yourself. But you are an individual. There's only so much you can do as an individual, and you should do it. If you're a man, get a gun. Become proficient in firearms training. Get a gun and learn how to protect yourself. If it's legal in your state, carry a gun.
Every man should be carrying.
Learn about the rules of firearms.
Especially if you have a family.
Cowboy. You need to understand also it cuts both ways. Some people think the solution is I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to carry a gun. And then you know what happens? They get in an altercation, they whip out the gun, and they go to jail forever. They go to jail for brandishing the gun. They go to jail because they shoot somebody and, the laws are against them in the state. It's a Daniel Penny situation. It's a Kyle Rittenhouse situation. You don't want that either. So it's a false sense of security, but it's the first step, okay? Don't get carried away. Don't go crazy.
And I would say too, I think that, and this is a real point here. Just to take a small aside while I'm thinking about it, I had it written down to talk about earlier too. Won't take too much of your time away from this. I'm going to start doing this with my kids and people around in my family as well. But I do think that white people need to start having the talk with their children, with people in their family, which is to use and look at many of these references, looking at Chud the Builder, looking at the McLaughlins or whatever their name was when they went out on their porch, looking at Henry, who died overseas, and having the talk and showing them you are on your own. The police will seek out any possible reason to paint you as a racist. Everything is against you. You must be on every P and every Q possible. You can't miss a beat. You can't. If you think you have the right to free speech, you don't, because you're white. If you think you have the same rights as everyone else in this country, you don't, because you're white. This is the talk that needs to be given. You need to carry yourself in such a way that you are such beyond reproach that you make it utterly impossible, that you make people look stupid if they try to come at you with these kind of claims, whether it be racist or bigoted or otherwise terroristic in any other sense. That needs to start being the talk. The system is against you, and it needs to be treated as such. We need to be instilling that too, like the talk, right? And it's half a joke and half not, but there does need to be, we need to start, look at what happens. Look at what happens to these people because they're white. Look at the way that you're treated because you're white. And so I would say it implies a burden there to pass on to your children and say, well, they need to know this too. If there's a different rule set for white people and they're not being taught that at school, well, that's up to you as a parent to tell them what's going on. And so, and it is going to piss black people off, I'm sure. That's not the intention. But it is to say, if there is anything that they're not being taught by the school that is fundamental or central or traditional that they need to have, then you need to be the person that fills that gap, especially if you're their parent. And especially in the lens of this racialized society, and especially if you're having young white males, because there's even a few extra more data sets that are oppressing them than even the women. But back to Nick here.
We don't want it to be the OK Corral, because there's many ways you could be screwed. The police are trying to hurt you in more ways than one, and remember that. Here's the real solution for white people. It's not get a gun necessarily. It's not do these self-protection things. That's the bare minimum. The solution for white people is you need to find a group. And by that, I do not mean, actually, it's the opposite. I do not mean a membership organization. I don't mean sign up for something. Don't put your fucking name on anything.
Would now be a bad time to show my member card?
Membership due $20 to join the club and get your card, get your membership card. I'm not talking about that. No militias, no groups, no chapters, no nothing like that. I'm talking about decentralized, small network of highly trusted people that you know. Don't call it anything. Yeah. Don't call it a thing. It's not a thing. It's unspoken. But you get together with like-minded people that live in your area, in proximity, share your values, and just start to help each other, especially if you're young. But if you're old too, help each other, make connections in local government, with cops, firefighters, people in the business space. Just start to make friends. Become an asset yourself. What can you do for other people? What could you provide in a situation?
And I would say too, like, I think there's, and it maybe in this, for some of you that are probably thinking maybe you don't have anybody like that, at least near you in person. And like many of us inside of this community itself, there's obviously distance separating us. We're not even all in the same state. And even if we are in the same state, we're not even in the same county. And so that does, on a personal level, you do need to probably go out of your way at least a little bit to at least know what the kind of setup is around you, and be able to sit there and think like, okay, if I'm living like how I had to make the calculation just like a little bit over a year ago, is how I have like I'm a minority in this suburb I was in. If things get bad and I'm in a bad spot, well, I'm ultimately going to be a very easy target. And so you kind of have at least have an idea or a sense, at least a some level of an anecdotal idea of what your area is like. And if you are in a good area, but you don't have any connections, you should probably go to areas where it's probably more likely that you could find those connections. Whether that be through church, although that's not the best means, or whether that be through the gym, although that might not be the best means. But for me, there's also an element of I'm also close to where my hometown is from. And because of that, I also am in connection with people who I grew up with who are on the same wavelength as me. And so there is a bit of a what you consider like a decentralized group, and you stay in contact as well. But at least we live close enough, and it's also with my father as well. It's close enough that, and there's a decentralized, we don't call it anything. It's like Atlas Friend Group chapter, like we don't call it anything, but we all are on the same page. We know we have each other's backs if things were to get bad. And so I don't even have to say what's understood between those groups of people. And so I would say if you don't have that, I would implore you to seek it out, not make it make it a cringe thing by any means. Like, hey, do you want to be a part of my like secret group, my top secret group for white people? But like, you don't have to say what's understood. And if you're capable and you have the social acuity to be able to understand what I'm saying, then you should find it if you don't already have it. But I think for many people inside this who are here already, probably already have some semblance like that, I would imagine. But if you don't, and if you find yourself to be in a solo spot, or you're very individualistic, very kind of isolated, I would try to go at least a little bit to find a couple friends, if you will. So, I wholeheartedly agree with him here, and and I might even maybe I should consider myself lucky for having that, to be honest with you. But there is a sense though that it's I really didn't really need to go out of my way either, because again, my dad was already very heavily politically inclined, and so we talk all the time, and so that's already a connection, a safe house, if you will, a place to go. So, people to run to if things go bad, but not everybody has that. And I think people would be in their best interest to seek it out.
Do you have a gun? Are you muscular? Do you have a car? Do you know how to drive? Do you have money? Do you have connections? Are you in law enforcement? Things like this. You want to start to get together, because this is what they all do. This is really the source of power in the street in a situation like this. The cops are not coming to help you. If you're just calling 911, you're fucked. But if you could call your best buddy, who might be a cop or might be some muscular guy, whatever, that's a different story. They might be able to help you out of a jam. Professionals, accountants, lawyers, business people, we need to start to look out for each other as a true white community. Can white people help
Biggest
each
activating
other
come
get a job?
close.
Can white people help each other get a lawyer, get pro bono legal representation? Can white people be there for you if you're in a dangerous situation? You need protection. You need a ride. Your kid's in some bad situation. Do you have connections with a judge in government, something in a school, at a university, at your school board? These are the kinds of connections people need to start to make. And it's very important that you don't call it anything. The second that you call it an organization, the second you put your name on a list, it's RICO, it's the government's coming down on you, the SPLC is coming down on you, whatever. Don't call it anything. Don't give it a name. Don't broadcast it. Don't put it out on Facebook. Hey, everybody, we're doing a meetup of people that are really pissed off and don't know what the hell to do anymore. Like, don't do that. But you got to just start, those that know will know, start to find like-minded people. We got to just start looking out for each other. It's that simple. We need to start to knit back together a social fabric of people that can look out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how it's always just like I see what you're saying, Donnie, but I don't know. I feel like that it's also like, what would you need to like bring him up on the show and like, be like, hey, this is my friend, it's going to protect me when shit pumps off. It's like, no, I'm not going to be bringing up my friends up here either. I feel like he always gets criticism for stuff like that too. Funny. But he's so hard. He's correct. He's 100% correct here. And it probably should actually be. And again, I would say for many people who probably already have it, I would imagine many people in this chat right now, especially some of the regulars, already have, like if I said like, hey, the power turned off right now, they already have steps 1, 2, and 3 like in their head. Or if, in case of emergency, they already have steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in their head of who to call, where to go, what do I need to do, and how am I going to do it. And if you don't have that, especially given today's day and age, it would definitely be in your best interest to do so. And so one last thing of the Israeli element, this anti-white element. Let's go to here. This is going to be the memorandum of understanding. Another hard segue, but I wanted to make sure I did get that monologue in from Nick Fuentes. I thought that was actually very, very poignant and specific to what many people have been kind of just, what's the word? Been dying to hear for. Many people seems like they are, I think, again, a lot of the criticism seems that when it's directed at Nick is like he's like de-escalating or telling people like not to do anything, or there's no real solution to what he's saying. And I've always found that to be, I don't think that's fair at all. I think being self-sufficient and individualistic elite human capital is still an answer. I think many people who aren't individualists are always seeking out for extreme collectivization. But I always thought it was pretty unfair criticism. And I think this gets another step ahead. And it's very poignant given the fact of what we recently have been spent time covering with the unfortunate young white man who was stabbed to death and left to bleed out because of, oh no, racism. And I think many people will be a lot more satisfied with that. Ultimately, probably not RTTL, nor Patriot Front, nor any other militia that is very pro and out there and in public forward-facing. But again, I guess I would say, to different folks, different strokes, I guess. I think if somebody's really dying to be, doing marches or, going out there with like spears and like doing protests and activism, maybe that is the route you go. And maybe you don't care about taking on the what would I call it? The extra target or having a larger target on your back. And I would say too, like if you're doing that, I would probably maybe make sure that you're not, you don't have a bunch of, family that's relying on you if you were to get thrown in jail because your children do depend on you. So I think that the decision needs to be made by the individual with wisdom. But this is what many people have been talking about, and it's been in the news for a while, but forgive me, my nose is super stuffed. Hold on. I just wanted to not do that in the microphone. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She says the United States of America is a sovereign nation. You would think, but she is referencing this section 224 of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, which is the section that is specifically looking to integrate the IDF and Israel into the Pentagon, and as well as our military and many other elements to that. And like I said yesterday, Alex Jones has been pulling the alarm on this since he's basically been seeing it. And when I see Alex Jones going that hard against this specific issue, it raises my alarm bells as well. Especially when we know Alex has a bit of at least hesitancy, it seems, before he's willing to go full send against Israel or the Jews. And so here's the letter. This is from Netanyahu, right? So this is Netanyahu, and he wrote it to the House of Representatives. And you won't be able to see that well. Let me open it in a new tab here. He says, "Dear Congressman Stutzman, I was glad to receive your proposed congressional resolution endorsing my plan to shift the framework for U.S.-Israel defense cooperation from aid to partnership." So here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say too. I think many people who are hearing this or seeing this, they are getting too specific and they are too narrow about what they think the bill is doing or what it seemingly is being reported as. And it's not to say like those fears are bad at all. Obviously, the IDF has no business being attached to our military. Israel has no business being a part of our military. But it's that I think it's way broader than that. And like I have been talking with House, and I think I've spoken to on stream a few different times, is many of these Randy Fine types and Netanyahu himself and others in the pro-Israel crowd have been outspoken about their willingness to accept, their wantingness to accept a smaller aid package to Israel or to wind down the aid that is being given to Israel. However, we know that they can't exist without the support from America. We know that they're pretty much a huge portion of their survival and many of their systems relies on continued American support. And if not America, it need to be coming from somewhere. So the thought process has been that the rhetoric is they are saying, yes, no more aid to Israel. Yes, we don't want billions being sent to Israel. We as American taxpayers don't want to pay for that. But what it seems to be what they're doing is the relationship is going from aid to Israel to a partnership with Israel, something more integrated, something more baked in, something more legislated. So we're kind of moving from not being on paper to being on paper. And it seems they're going to be doing this through this integration, through this bill. And so let me read this highlighted portion here. Quote, and this is from Benjamin Netanyahu. Quote, I am heartened by your enthusiastic support for our plan to develop a new memorandum of understanding with the United States government that will draw down U.S. financial military assistance over the next decade and replace it with what you refer to as a new framework of joint defense cooperation, co-development, co-production, and mutual investment in areas including advanced missile defense, artificial intelligence unmanned systems, cybersecurity, and next-generation military platforms. Does that in any way, shape, or form sound to you as if we're getting rid of Israeli aid, that we're not going to be sending aid to Israel? Well, it won't be in the vein of just sending, financial military aid like in money dollar packages that get voted upon. No, again, a new framework of joint defense cooperation, co-development, co-production, and mutual investment in areas. And what are all the areas? It's all the areas that we're already giving them aid for. It's the missile defense, it's AI systems, it's surveillance systems, it's cybersecurity. And what next generation military platforms, what does that even mean? It probably just leaves the door open for anything that comes beyond and after. So, yeah, is it bad that that Israel wants to be a part of the American military? Yes. But the real story here is that this is the evolution of what this relationship is going to be between America and Israel. And another thing I would point your attention out to as well is look at this. Develop a new memorandum of understanding. And we find ourselves once again, not signatories, not alliances, not a sanctioned anything, but just like what we had with Iran, a memorandum of understanding. That's just like a framework of an agreement. That is not an actual agreement. And so they, once again, they're in this position, they're in this half-stepping position where all the rhetoric would make you believe that they must be a defensive ally. Like Israel must be in an alliance with us, right? Memorandum of understanding with the U.S. government. It's not even anything that they can be held to account for, seemingly, given this language inside of what he has put in his letter. But this is coming from who? This is from Netanyahu. Memorandum of understanding. So perhaps maybe it will ultimately become an actual agreement, and you would imagine it would have to be if it's going to be given licensure inside of things like the Pentagon and our intelligence agencies. But this is a terrible sign that they're going to try to leverage. And that's what they're going to be doing ultimately. They're going to leverage that. They're going to be saying, no, we're all in agreement here. Randy Fine, Netanyahu, Benny Johnson, Trump, Marco Rubio, Laura Loomer, all the most pro-Israel Jews Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro. We're totally fine with this. Yes, of course I support drawing down support for Israel. Of course I want to draw down the financial military assistance to Israel. But I do support this memorandum of understanding for this new framework of joint cooperation between our. So do you see, like that's the direction it's going to be going, and they're going to use that. Randy Fine's going to use that. So the people who don't read into it, who don't have the fuller understanding, they see Randy Fine, and so some normie, right? You're spouting off, going, Randy Fine just loves Israel. He'll do anything for Israel. We should deport him to Israel. And they're like, but they're confused now, and they're going, well, hold on. Randy Fine just said he's totally fine with getting rid of aid to Israel. And that's what he's saying. And they're going to have clips of it. There's going to be a 50-second clip of Randy Fine going, I'm wholeheartedly ready. I'm cool with this. Just draw down the aid to Israel. But it doesn't mean anything. They're just changing the words. They're changing the definitions. And yeah, they'll totally not sell our technology to other nations. Yeah. And then pretty soon everybody will be having you'll be flying a mothership with Stargates. That's how it always worked, and it's always them, dude. It's always them. Even in Stargate, it's always them. Just honestly insane. And it should be bigger news than what it is ultimately, and it needs to be reported as that too. It needs to be not reported as, Israel's trying to get further into the Pentagon with IDF, because that's just kind of confusing. It's just like it doesn't make sense. But when you see this, paragraph, you go, oh, now it makes sense. It's not aid, it's a partnership. We're not building back better. We're making America great again, right? It's like it's just two different ways to say the same thing. Let me get rid of that. And this is MTG. She was the one who pushed it. I like that post. The solid post there. And a couple other things I will go ahead and reach out to. I know somebody had said, they mentioned earlier today, or earlier in the chat, about Albania and Ivanka and the Kushners. And I have been paying attention to that. I believe that Kushner's ultimately, I think that they're trying to seize the funds. I don't know if they did seize the funds that he's had or has been flowing through back and forth, which is a bit curious. I will say that. In addition to that, what was weird is a few days ago, we were looking at when Trump was negotiating with Iran, and what they had said then was they were asking for Saudi, and they were asking for Qatar, they were asking for Jordan, they were asking for Turkey to join the Abraham Accords, which, as we covered then, is a literally insane ask. Like these countries, some of these countries have red lines, and they refuse. They're not going to normalize relations with Israel. Kushner is also talking about leveraging even more money to get these countries inside of the Abraham Accords. And so it looks like there is this push now, perhaps now what the United States is doing to get some kind of strategic victory out of this is basically let the Iran war drag on, so much so to the point that the countries who have red lines of not joining Israel are basically going to have to be in a position of like asking, like, dude, okay, whatever makes it effing stop, fine, we'll sign the Abraham Accords. At least that to me is the appearance of such. Is that the strategic victory that the United States is going to be going for? Is dragging the shit on long enough that you eventually get one of these other nations to just bend the knee and say, dude, we are suffering. Like, well, holy fuck. Like, we just like, like with Saudi, for example, Saudi's like, dude, our tourist industry is destroyed. Nobody's going to be coming back here again. Like, okay, fine. We'll join the Abraham Accords, and just so our country doesn't implode. Our economy doesn't just go under. Everything we've spent the last, few years building doesn't get just completely annihilated because Iran and Israel were having a war. Perhaps, I don't know, but that would be pressure on the rest of those nations, particularly the ones that are in the Gulf Coast nations, the ones that are, inside the missile range already have been attacked, and that does go to specifically Saudi. I think Saudi specifically is the one that's really kind of taking the brunt of a lot of this. A couple of the other ones that have been taking the brunt are already in the Abraham Accords, but not Qatar and not Saudi. That would be kind of insane to see.
At Hilton Head Grow, I percent $20 on YouTube. Pardon the interruption. Do you get a better cut from Super Chats or Power Chats?
You're totally fine. It's much better through Power Chat. With YouTube, it's anywhere from I think it's like 30% or something. So YouTube takes like 30% of all the super chat. It's actually kind of aggressive. Rumble only takes like 20. It might even be higher than that on YouTube. It's been a minute since I checked. Yeah, it's like somewhere from like 30 to 50%. It's like something crazy like that. Power Chat doesn't take almost anything. I think Power Chat takes like an 8%, or it's single digits, I think. It's like 10%, 8%, something like that. So Power Chat's much better. But thank you for the super chat. Either way, I appreciate it. So thank you greatly. I appreciate you. Yeah, do I actually play media? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have it turned on. Make sure it's on this screen too. It is. Yeah, I have the media turned on. Yeah, that's why I actually got the Nightbot turned on to let people know that they have the reminder that you can do the media. House did it on Kick. Was it last night or 2 nights ago? I think it was maybe it was 2 nights ago. He said it on Kick, and we were watching Trailer Park Boys for a few minutes. Yeah, it does work. You can do it at any time. Listen, it's a stream. We're doing a live stream, right? And I would like to be more of a live stream and a fun show, be wacky than it is like maybe formal. YouTube, I do try to be a bit more formal on YouTube just because it seems YouTube's got a bit more, it's a bit more restrictive. Kick though, we go free, we free ball and Kick, right? Like as soon as I go to Kick, I take my pants off. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way that we just let it hang. Like just the way it is. Like there's no other way you could to do it. Especially like, cause if I'm wearing a sweatshirt too, it starts getting hot. Like, but then no pants, it equals out. It's like I'm shirtless, but wearing pants, but no pants and a sweatshirt, like the same thing. And Smelly on YouTube, it's exclamation point Joey, I believe. Let me try it. I know it's a little bit confusing. Brother, I can't type for nothing. Holy crap. Let's see. Is it going to work? Oh, no, maybe not. Okay. I guess the TTS on that one's not working. Oh, we'll go check it. The TTS for Power Chat though is working. As you guys have heard. That's funny. Sorry, Smelly. Me and you both cannot listen as nothing gets. And you always put capital letters in there. It's lowercase. It's supposed to be lowercase. Let me see this. We'll put this on screen for a second. Let me get this figured out here. Yeah, it should be turned on. It is turned on. Sorry, give me a second. We're doing some research here. We're doing our best. Smelly, you're so hateful, dude. I never felt so hated in my life until I met Smelly Balls. And now I wake up every morning just sad. I can't believe he would do that to me, guys. Why would he do that to me? I swear it's in here, bro. Oh. What if I do all? All chatters allowed. Save. We're working this right now. We're working it right now. We're making it work. I'm showing you how quick I can move on my feet. What we're doing. Come on. Oh no, that's. Oh no. Oh no. Oh Lord. Oh no. Oh no. Not every chat. Oh no. Oh no. What have I done? What have I done? Oh no. All right, well, we're turning it off for now. And well, it does work. I guess I can't. I don't know why it's doing every single chat. I think it's got to be on flag. So I think flag will work now. Right? This is how we do it, dude. How we do it. Come on. Come on. Bro, that's crazy. Are you serious, bro? Oh, you don't hear any of them? Really? That's funny. I think house is just old. No, just kidding. Let me change this real quick then. Or what would it be? It would be... Wouldn't be that one. It would be this one. I don't know. All right. Well, I'll do some digging. We'll figure it out. I had a future date. It works. It works on Kick. We know that. Brian works on Kick. I know that for sure. Power chat integration is just rough. It's all third party stuff. It's funny. Tolan says, that's funny. Well, hey, we tried, man. We did. We tried. It happens. He says, you said, why offensive? It has to be. It has to be. If I was kind and nice, no one would listen. If I was kind, they wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Also W to ticks as well. I think it's this way. But I gotta be sure. Powerchat.live and let's look chat. Oh. It'd be coming from this one. Let me see. One more time. One more time. One more time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fixed. Done. Absolute cinema. We're done here, boys. We're done here. It worked. Okay, so Joey works on Power Chat. Lord have mercy, dude. Makes me feel like I'm going insane sometimes. Lovely stuff. But it works. It says only members or moderators. So I guess not everybody. So I put on all, that means everybody has access to TTS. Okay, now I understand the difference here. It's not going to play this, is it? Yeah, there we go. You guys hear something? What's that ceiling bird doing over there? All right, got to work though. That's all I can say. House, I don't have AOC. That's only on Kick. It's only on the Kick one. I will get AOC though, so it's super cheap. We will do that though. You guys hear that? Almost felt like I had to be responsible to do something. I got this urge to. No, it must be nothing. Just some ceiling birds. Just some ceiling birds. No, there was a couple more things I wanted to go over. You know, we had Hassan being exposed as a sex addict. If other people want to cover that, so be it. I ultimately didn't find it too. I didn't really care that much. People are dunking on Hassan. We can put that up there. Where's it at? Yeah, new tab, new browser. That's not it. It was this one. From Grimaldus. Dang it. Get over there. This is from Grimaldus here. Hassan Biker gets investigated by the government. He gets banned from the UK, gets exposed as a porn-addicted predator. They're saying this might be the funniest week ever. A liberal porn addict. No way, right? Wow. Breaking news. Breaking news. Liberals watch porn, right? That's kind of the way I thought about it too. Supposedly, there's this, people are saying perhaps he's a predator. I've not really seen anything that speaks to that. There are two things that I've seen that are maybe give hunches to that. The first is that it would be potentially that he's getting him from an underage female audience, like people who watch him that are underage, like the females. The other is that one of the clubs, one of the brothels that he visited, supposedly and allegedly, and I've only seen this on X, I can't confirm it, so take it with a grain of salt, that supposedly one of these German brothels that he went to was later, I think, under scrutiny, under investigation of trafficking minors. So to say, I think that's probably needs vetted still, I would imagine. But again, I'm not going to sit here and defend Hassan any ounce of it. He deserves everything that's coming to him. And I would say this is actually karma for being a lying, disgusting piece of communist shit. So, you know, am I going to shed any tears for Hassan? Not really. He deserves everything that's happening to him. But shout out to Grimaldus, W for Grimaldus. W tweet. And it looks like Hassan Spiker's kind of like his life's kind of crashing around him. I will go to this one here. And so this is probably the last thing I kind of go ahead and cover here. And I'll go a little bit longer just because, because again, I'm probably not going to be streaming on Kick tonight, unfortunately, guys. I got to take some time away. My daughter's really sick, and she's also not been doing so good as well, too. So I'm going to take some time off. But tomorrow the plan is to do a video in the morning, and I will be streaming on Kick that night. And so I probably won't have a YouTube stream. So it will be just a YouTube video and then a Kick stream for tomorrow, just so you guys are aware. What is up, Josh? But this story is also relating to Spencer Pratt. Now, Spencer Pratt, someone I've really ultimately not cared too much about to pay attention to, but he is running against Karen Bass. He's going to be running against Karen Bass in the runoff for the California or the LA mayor. I almost said California mayor. For the mayor of LA, Los Angeles. And Hassan, I'm not even kidding you, seethed for like 7 straight minutes. And so here's this. Put this up on screen for you guys to see. Just absolutely crazy. Not all of that. I'm not reading that. But here's this. 7 minutes of him just straight seething. Let me go and play this here.
You know what's really funny about these fucking idiots? This was my reaction to Spencer Pratt getting...
And understand, too, it's all the people who he's also endorsed or wants to win are all projected to lose. And everybody's been coming at him like saying, like, look how much of an idiot you are. And so he's reacting to this clip up here, too.
Like 30+% in the LA mayoral race. But of course, these fucking dumbass shit libs absolutely love when Republicans win elections. As long as there's no like left winning elections. Like, brother, you have identified me as your enemy, okay?
Josh left me on red.
I don't think you want to be my enemy. But if you prefer Republicans over, Democratic Socialists, if you prefer Republicans over Democrats, you are my enemy. Okay? The annoying right-wing libs
he's so retarded.
Celebrating. They're like, oh, dude, Spencer Pratt is doing so well in the fucking race. It's like, I can't say what I want what I want you to do to yourself, because you probably are going to do that to yourself anyway, regardless of whether or not I say it, because there's not much else to live for in your life. If this is what you're excited about, if you're genuinely excited about the prospect of Republicans winning races in places like Los Angeles, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get banned, but I'm thinking it. Okay? I'm thinking it. Don't get
thinking what?
I know. If your whole life revolves around like perceived L's and W's that a fucking Twitch streamer is getting in races where he's endorsing candidates or going on rallies and whatnot with candidates, and
I like how you said perceived L's and W's. Like, bro, you don't have a W. You don't have one. You never had one. Hassan, your career is just L's, dude. Like, there is no W. He's like, if your perceived L's and W's for Twitch streamers, like, yeah, okay. If you have a W, can you find it? Can you point to it on a map? Where would that W be? You have been getting shit upon my entire life, Hassan. You have been the butt end of jokes. And I sit here now as someone who has spent a fraction of the time covering politics as you have. And I sit here wondering why such a retard has even half of an audience I do. You are a nothing. You are nothing. You are socialist trash. And if we lived in a righteous country, you would have been out of here a long time ago, or you would be in jail for just being so radically retarded. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
You care about. Your life is not worth living. You are not living a life worth living, and it's pertinent on you.
Why is Nightbot yelling, dude?
You can't consistently.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get rid of that Hilton head.
All right, Chris.
I'm sorry, bro. I don't know why I just did that.
Maui, and then try to make it seem like there's a big W here because I'm upset that my fellow Los Angelinos are fucking dog shit reactionaries.
Yeah, Nightbot's A-logging.
Voting for Spencer Pratt. You're obsessive. Libs on Twitter are completely ignoring Maui to gloat about Shoycott losing. It's so embarrassing. Yeah. Breaking Hassan Pike.
At least he got in on the power chat.
Themselves. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I would never say kill yourself. I would never say kill yourself to someone who is excited at the prospect of Spencer Pratt potentially,
Listen how gay he is, dude. Oh, I don't want to get banned on Twitch. I don't want to get banned on Twitch. I would definitely not tell someone to go kill themselves if they wanted that. It's like, dude, I'm going to physically reach the screen and choke you out myself. I'll make it easy for the both of us. Dog. He's just like, he's so hateable, dude. He's so hateable.
Getting a decent chunk of votes in Los Angeles, California. I would never say you should kill yourself with a gun to a person that would be excited at the prospect of something like that. I would never say that at all. I don't think it's appropriate. I disavow statements such as that.
Yeah. Can Sam Hyde fight this guy already?
Most importantly, I would never do that. Just so you guys understand, I would never do that, and you shouldn't do that either. However, you're probably already dead inside if this is the only thing that you get excited about.
Dude, bro, left wingers have the worst comebacks, the worst slurs, the worst pejoratives. It's so weak. Hey, shout out to your buddy who's at a Fishback rally, Craig. That's awesome. His son is the Soy Jack meme. All he does is he's seething lie. Yeah, exactly. And I like how I've seen some of this older footage too. It looks like the guy is literally like he waits for it to see what Destiny says, and then he's like, oh yeah, this is what I think. Dude.
And Remember, your boos mean nothing, for I have seen what makes you cheer. These people are so unprincipled; they don't care about anything but themselves. No, it's crazy. It's less than unprincipled. If I own you that fucking hard, if I live inside of your mind that badly, if I live inside of the crevices of the last remaining wrinkle that you have in your brain to this degree, then you are not a human being. You have reduced yourself to something lower than that.
It's so it's funny because it's like I could be doing this. Like it's almost tempting, dude. It's almost tempting. Like, should I just join the Jews and like I'm just gonna carry their water for them like this? I'm just gonna become a left winger. You know how easy it'd be, dude. I got in with the Groypers, man. I couldn't believe what they said about women. Like, it'd be so easy, dude. It'd be so easy, man. But I'm not, because I'm not a pathetic. I can't say that on YouTube. I'm not that. Like, he does want to be Nick so bad, dude. And he does know it, dude. He knows it. He just denies it.
Okay? That's my point. And you can go off and be like, oh, he's so angry. We finally did it. But that still proves my point. I will forget about you as soon as I'm done talking about this. But you will consistently keep thinking about me every single day of the fucking week. Please have some political principles.
Dude, this guy, like, I think he's literally reading off a script too. Like, they got the cue cards over there. Is Cenk behind the camera holding the cue cards for this absolute freak? I don't know if I can do anymore. It's literally just him like saying nothing. It's like him just saying nothing. Craig says, so next time I have a conversation with you on Kick, I have something extremely interesting about a corrupt pastor I had, and it is insane. Definitely. Yeah, we're doing more call-ins on the weekend for anybody who's interested in that. And yeah, would love to do some more call-ins as well. And we'll be doing them through the Discord. And like I've been saying too, and part of the reason I wanted to get the Nightbot up and active as well too, was to be putting all of this so it's out in the open. I know people ask for Discord links, or they ask for links to Kick or whatever. That just makes it easier. But we will be doing and facilitating call-ins through the Discord. It is the easiest way for me to do it. And if anybody would like to do call-ins, if you want to, you're going to need to be doing it in the Discord. So you need to make sure you join. And I can go ahead and find one. Let me grab this here. Nightbot put it out not too long ago, right? Nope, that was at A-logging Hilton Head. Here's one. Let me pin this. I'm going to pin this chat for Nightbot. So for those of you who are not in the Discord but would like to join the Discord, the Nightbot message should be pinned there. And that link should be a wide open link with no expiration on it. I rarely do it, but if I only put it in the live chat, my hope is that we won't get all of the crazies, at least. And Romeo says, did he proceed to play a video and leave the room for 30 minutes? That's funny. I should start doing that, right? Yeah, Tom, you do need to join the Discord. Tom, we need to collab too. I need to do some collabs. I might reach out to the guy who covered me. I guess that's something I can also bring up as well. I didn't talk about it at all, but Daily Riot did cover my debate with Chuck Mason from American Reform. Is it on YouTube, I think? Yeah, it was on YouTube. And a shout out to Foulball Productions, who sent it over to me. I appreciate you greatly for that. Good looks. Also, W to Tom Foe in the video earlier today. Terrifying photo. Where was it? Was it Daily Riot, right? Daily Riot. And they're gaining subs like crazy. They just broke over 8. They were at 7 yesterday. And it's not this one. Although that video looks like it's going crazy for him. Latest, it was this one. So Mike Stone, whoever Mike Stone is, yeah, if you want to collab, man, I'm all for it. And shout out to him. He did that. I guess I should reply on stream. Yeah. Yeah, can reach me on that. Okay, and maybe we'll do a collab with them. I would like to, yeah, Judeo Chuck, Nightbots IDF. Did it kick somebody else out? I thought I literally only turned on the timers. I must have it. It must have automatically turned on some moderation to it. I didn't know that. I'll turn it off. We'll do that too. Let's do that. Let's get Hilton Head out of jail. We need to get Hilton Head out of jail, man. He didn't deserve to be in prison. Bang, 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 bang. Let's go. No moderation because we do not care. Cool. Should be fixed. Hope so. Hopefully that gets you out of jail, Hilton Head. I don't know if that gets you a ticket or if it's just pays your fine down. But yeah. And I'm sure you guys are already familiar with this. But you know, shout out to Daily Riot. That'd be someone I would like to collaborate with. Unit 8200 is among us. Yes. Marissa Street, if you can hear me, please leave me alone. please. There's bigger anti-Semites than me. I'm a small fry. Please don't hurt me. I know nothing. I'm actually I'm dumb. I'm retarded. I can do nothing. I'm not dangerous. Yeah, Nightbot's lying on your name. But Daily Riot, as well as, you know, Josh is somebody I'd like to be able to do even just a regular episode, even if it's not specifically in the context, in the confines of the Groyper Report. And I do need to reach out still to Beardson. I'm just so terrible at even remembering to message people. And you guys know that I'm literally retarded when it comes to stuff like that. But I will reach out. And I did reach out to a couple people. Ultimately, they were busy, but we'll see what happens with that. Raymond is somebody who I'd like to collaborate with again as well too, just because he's just got a different audience. And if I can slowly penetrate the audience of Raymond with hot breath, and no, that's way too far. But you know, we would love to do something like that. You know, do it more so. Raymond wanted to do something a bit more regular, and I think he's fully transitioned over to Kick as well too, because YouTube just keeps beating his ass for dumb stuff. So like, you have that as well. But yeah, I know we do. So just let me know what times work with you. I'm kind of in a full-blown daily streaming schedule now. I'm probably going to be streaming 7 days a week for the foreseeable future. And that means big plans on the weekends, gaming stuff on the weekends. But again, for tomorrow, I do want to get that out there. For tomorrow specifically, I will be trying to get a video.
At Smelly Balls sent $2 on YouTube. Nightbot was talking to me in Yiddish.
That's funny. That's funny. Thank you for the super chat, Smelly. But tomorrow I do plan on putting out a video, and I'm also not going to be streaming on Kick tonight because I want to get a head start on making part 1 of the Backrooms and putting that on Atlas Thug TV of me, Tix, and Craig playing through that first portion. Well, until Tix abandoned us. Until Tix said, F you, I'm joining with the Jews. We're like, whoa, what's going on? And then next thing you know, you just heard the dun, 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 and then he was off screen. I just don't know what happened. But then it's just going to be, that's what I want to be doing too, and get some of that stuff out there as well. That's some of the plans too. And Valheim probably as well this weekend. Backrooms and Valheim, and potentially we can get more stuff out as well. No, I know, Tix. I'm not trying to flame me at all. Yeah, I know, man. And also getting more of the community involved as well too. So again, please, if you guys want to be a part of the gaming streams and want to be doing call-ins, please get in the Discord. And specifically for gaming, please let me know so we can plan ahead, so we can coordinate. It's not like I'm going to go live and be like, hey man, get on, at least get some idea, some kind of planning to go into it. So it'll be on the weekends as well. But that's probably going to do it for me today. If Nick decides not to go live tonight, there's a chance I'll come back on Kick. But if he goes live tonight, I'm probably just going to stay home, staying home, 15 days to slow the spread. But I am going to be streaming every single day. And that's going to be the goal here. I'm going to be pushing for as well. So I appreciate you guys as always. And I have to do the videos because there's clearly my channel is not getting the same reach of what it once had. And so I'm going to have to put work back into videos and get that put out there to try to get my channel out of the nexus it's in right now. Cause it feels like nothing I'm doing is helping. So I got to get some bangers out there. I'm going to have to steal Tom Fo's entire video and post it. And then, act like I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to start doing stuff like that. Maybe I'll have to rip Right Wing Coalition. Maybe I'll just post for 30-minute videos of Nick without anything else. No commentary, no nothing. We'll see. Let's see what happens. But, decisions have to be made. And I want to make sure I can continue to grow the channel and see what happens with that. So, just so you guys are aware. And shout out to NAV Metallurgy as always. You guys are interested in any kind of custom 3D print, you guys are interested in any kind of custom light box, be sure to check out athenordllc.com. They are the sponsor here, and they are a great sponsor at that. And yes, thank you guys as always. Thank you again for the super chats for everybody from Hilton Head Groiper as well as Smelly Balls. I appreciate you guys greatly, and I should be catching you guys tomorrow. Same time, per around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Or no, actually, it'll be much later tomorrow. Forgive me. I'm so used to saying it. Probably planned for around 8 to 9 p.m. start time for the Kick stream tomorrow. And but with that, I bid you guys adieu. Rooting for you. Christ is King, as always. Nothing else is more important than that. Make sure you are guarding your walk and relationship with Jesus Christ, and you are pursuing it with intention every single day. And I mean reading the Bible. And I mean going out of your way to make sure that you, at the bare minimum, like you're telling me that you, for the God, your Lord Jesus Christ, you can't open a book and read at least a chapter a day. You can't even read a book a day. You can't even have a script verse of the day. You can't. And if we ain't even doing the bare minimums, where are we? So I would say, make that a goal of yours if you don't have that done already. Yeah. And if we can't do, it says we can't do the deportations, unfortunately, we will settle for impeachments. So impeach the entire administration, impeach Trump, impeach Kash Patel, hire Dan Bongino again, and then impeach him, and impeach everybody inside the administration, Pam Bondi included. And let's get the blue wave here in 2026. Let's crush them with the Democrats, and let's hope for a better path forward in 2028. And for all the women over 150 pounds, you're going to be getting shot from a cannon to Israel, no questions asked. For the women between 100 and 150 pounds, this is your 90-day notice to lose the weight, or you too will be shot from a cannon to Israel. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support. I love you guys. Rooting for you as always, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it.